All right, we're here again. Only two
Hello,
of us this time.
long time no see, sir.
Yeah, welcome back, Colin. Welcome back to the podcast.
Woo,
Welcome to the show.
unlucky
We've missed
listeners.
you. But yeah, it's only the two of us today. No Zoe today, and unfortunately Alex and Lauren are also engaged. So just the two of us,
I
the
fired them
OGs.
both.
Yeah, that's the non-political way of saying what happened. No, they're too busy running other shit now, aren't they? But yeah, so yeah, welcome back. Is there like dodgeball news starts off the program? I don't think we spoke about what was going on with the league system last time because it hadn't been officially announced yet. I can't
I can't
remember.
remember. I wasn't here for the last one, and I can't
Me,
remember.
I was here and I can't remember. So,
I feel better.
like that shouldn't be hard.
Let's give a recap.
Yeah. Anyway, long story short, next year, if you're playing in Men's League 3 or Men's League 4, good luck getting promotion because nothing's happening, is essentially happening there. Men's League 2 and downwards will be sort of segregated into a northern league and a southern league, and depending on whether or not there are enough teams in that region, there will either be multiple tiers per north and south. Um, I assume that will also be graded and ranked on how you finish the season. So if you're in League Two, you finish near the top, you'll definitely be in the North League or South League One. But if you're at like the bottom of League Four, then you might be in North or South League Two, for example.
Oh, you
Um,
mean tiered for the north and south? Okay,
yeah,
okay.
depending on how it splits out and how many new teams we get, right? So that's what's happening from that, from what I understand. This is just for the men's only. For the women's, if there is a women's League Two that are formed, it will be forming at a centralised location outside of St George's Park. So St George's Park will only host men's and women's Super League and men's and women's League One. Um, and also, this will then cause that in men's League One, if you finish sixth or lower, no, seventh or lower, you are automatically getting relegated. I think was what I read, if I remember
Some of
correctly.
the dumb. I can't lie, right? I think how they're doing it is really dumb.
I like
60% of the league is probably going to change at the moment. Is based on how they're currently setting up the system. You should not be changing that much of a league every season.
yeah, it's a difficult one because the counter argument is if you're in North or South League Two, and there's 10 teams in that league, then only one team's getting promoted. If you've got North and South, because then you'd have two demoted from
There's
League One.
so many teams that are just going to get one season in St George's Park, then have to wait 2 years before you can come back.
Yeah, that is going to happen. Like I can almost guarantee that, but
I
I
I
don't really know what can be
I
done
know
about it.
people have brought it forward that they should do like the playoff system, and I think that's the closest to fair you're going to get.
I
It really
like
would be my
maybe
opinion.
I've just watched it in other league systems and how crap it can end up being. Um,
I know, but I think it's more fair than making them wait an entire year to, because there's going to be really good teams that get sent down, batter the league, and then come back up.
yeah, I mean, like
I
what
just don't think it's a really good way of balancing out the leagues.
in an ideal situation, I'd say leave it as it is, but make men's league one like a 14-team league.
If they increase how many people are in the leagues, that's a very different story.
Yeah, but with only 10, with four
Yeah,
getting demoted and two
yeah.
getting promoted, yeah, it gets a bit rough. But yeah, I don't know. It's a hard situation regardless because So this. Oh, and the other side of it is, and this is probably more important for the women's side is, we're going to 6 league meets at St George's Park instead of the 9 that we currently have, which means there'll be 3 matches per team per league meet. So realistically, they're not going to be short matches. They're going to still be half-an-hour matches. Um,
How many matches are played in? So there's what,
18 matches,
and currently there's
9 meets, so 2 matches a meet. Whereas if you
no.
have
Sorry. I meant in the one single day at St George's Park. How many matches are in a day currently? what's that? Is there 15
15.
currently?
Yeah, 15.
And how many would that? So that would actually mean more matches in a single day, right?
I don't know. I was trying to work this out because, and this is where I haven't done maths in a long time. So maybe on podcast you can help me figure my maths out, right? But like, there will be, if we're going from 9 league meets to 6 league meets, that's 15 matches per league. We need to squish into 6 league meets, right?
I think so.
Because there's 5 matches a day currently.
Mm.
So there's meet 7, meet 8, and meet 9. That's 3 meets. 3 times 5 is 15. Distribute those 15 over 6 league meets. My head says that means that you can't divide 15 by 6 unless I'm being an idiot.
No.
So that means some days you'll have more matches and some days you'll have less.
I reckon they'll do a rotation of which league has the extra
more
match play.
Yeah, if that's how it works. But then the other side of it is you've got six.
That means you won't always. That means surely you won't always have 3 matches to play.
Well, yeah, but then you look at the other side of the maths, right? This is the fallacy I have in my head, right? Is you've got 6 meets and 18 matches to distribute over 6 meets, which means there's on average you play 3 matches per meet. So per team you're playing 3 matches per meet, but like the overall structure, I don't know how you distribute these 15 matches.
That's a really good point.
You know what I mean? Like, I can't quite work out, like, unless my maths, I'm doing it wrong, and please someone correct me, and I know someone will, but please let me know. Like,
Bevers.
Yeah, Bevers, where you at? Yeah, I can't quite work out how that's going to get distributed. Because, yeah, at the moment...
I imagine we've probably missed something here, but, well... This is what a long week at work does.
Yeah, it's like what? There's 9 times 5 at the moment, which is 45 matches, right? So 45 matches divided by 6, which is divisible by 6, I think. Okay, Google.
Well,
what's 45 divided by 6?
No, we've missed it. It's over 2 courts. It's over 2 courts.
Ah, there you go.
So it's double that. So it's 90 matches rather than 45.
Yes. And that would explain it. So it would be 30 matches over 6 minutes rather than 15, and then you can distribute it.
There we go.
There you go. I knew there was something obvious, but all the time we were talking through that, someone was going, "They forgot there's 2 courts. They forgot there's 2 courts."
Fucking idiots.
Oh man,
these are the people we've got talking about dodgeball on our behalf. Fuck me.
Oh man, so RIP. But anyway, other than that, the Pisa Open is happening soon. As of yet, it hasn't happened. So I think there are a few teams going. I don't know who, but I think there's a few teams. And there's an Edinburgh Open that's now been.
That's cool. I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm hoping to go to that one.
Edinburgh is one of my favorite places in the world. Lovely, lovely place.
Yeah, I do like it there. But yeah, in terms of off the top of my head,
input to it.
Dodgeball news. That's all I can think. Oh, and Dodge Central streams.
It's the only reason why I'm here and able to talk about dodgeball. I appreciate you, especially as because I'm injured and I won't be there for the rest of the meets. That is how I'm going to get my dodgeball fix for the rest of the season. On top of Matt Wheel firing stuff onto the base dodgeball site. Darby have been really good at throwing stuff on there. And I've been picking up bits and pieces elsewhere whenever I can as well.
You're doing a better job than I am, and I was there, and I was reffing, and I was playing, so...
probably a conversation for another day, but I find whenever I used to ref, I could not take in the tacticalness of matches as well as... Because I'm obviously focused so much on the balls rather than the players and how they're reacting to stuff like that. I never really could take in the tactical side of things. And that's my favorite thing about watching dodgeball.
Yeah.
So I stopped refereeing.
Fair enough. I mean, I would say keep refereeing. But yeah, it's I think it is a challenge, but I quite enjoy it, and I was reffing Men's League 3 last time, so
it's good.
A little bit more chill.
It's good. It's a good job and stuff like that. I enjoy watching for like the technical side of things, like how teams play and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I could just never really take it in. So I was just like, you know what? For me, not worth it. For other people, do it. Sign
Yeah.
up, volunteer.
Yeah,
That's why I prefer to
100%.
volunteer for the commentary.
Yeah, fair enough. 100% need more people getting involved. And there's 250 of you listening to this on YouTube on average. So if there's 250 listen to this, we know you care enough about dodgeball to be listening to a freaking podcast about it. As sad as that may be, but get involved. Get involved. Like, not to diss our own
Shut up.
listeners.
Listen, they just want to listen to me. They just want to listen to my voice and see
Oh,
my pretty face. That's all. That's all it is.
wow, that's why I started the podcast. It's more excuse to see you. Come on.
Oh, stop it, you little flirt.
Stop
Yeah.
it. Anyway, let's go on to some dodgeball, eh?
Let's do it.
Women's Super
Women's
League.
Super League.
What a day. I think there was 3 draws.
Some
Two draws.
very fucking interesting matches, I'd say that
Yeah,
much.
Jesus. Telling me.
Tell you what, a big, massive stinker was Bedford Rangers.
Yeah.
For considering how close the results are, they walked away really disappointed. Really disappointed, and that has really opened up the relegation battle massively.
It's made it closer. It's dragged more people into it.
Yeah, especially fair play to Raptors. I watched some of their game against Queens, and they've actually become a really good like team unit. It used to at the start of the season it was very much individual players and relied on individual plays, whereas now they've really got a good unison with them. And the backup play for each other has been immense, and I've seen a lot more kind of like hyping each other up on court and like celebrating the small stuff. I was like, there's so many teams where whenever you see them doing stuff like that, it makes such a difference. I think Raptors have really come into their own, which is very unfortunate for the Queens on the day. And I can imagine that game against Sheriffs was a good one to watch as well, and that I have got round to. But yeah, just like results all around the table. Like looking at Derby Storm, fantastic game of dodgeball.
That was great.
Really worthwhile checking it out. I was really shocked because I don't know if you watched it, the Derby Storm game, but
yeah, I watched some of it.
Actually watching it, I really felt like Derby were in control the entire game. But you just look at the scoreboard and you're like, there's only like a set in it. Pretty much for the entire game, like Storm were just keeping themselves in there and scraping it through. I can't remember who was playing right wing for Storm. Rachel Potter was there once in a while, and there was somebody else. And I thought they were fantastic the entire game. They were really putting the pressure on Derby. The throw in from them, especially the team throws from Storm on the right hand side, were absolutely spot on for the majority of the game. I can't remember the name of who fled. Honestly, I'm awful with names, and I do apologize. I'm usually better, but my brain's having an absolute fart right now. But the left winger from Storm was very good at surviving the pressure from Bree, especially trying to do kind of semi cross court shots. And that also made a big, massive difference. But I just actually watching the game, I just felt Derby were in control, but they never really were. I can't explain it. It was really interesting to watch. Don't know what you thought.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the game, and I was really interested to see from a Storm perspective. But I think there are very much 2 storylines to cover in this game, and one is how well Storm performed in comparison to some of their other performances out of late. And I think this is the most unified or like most Storm playing as a unit I've seen them play. And the reason I say that is like the energy on the team just seemed like really good. And
I agree.
One thing that it must have been intentional, but it worked really well as a tactic, is they were rotating their winger like every couple of throws, every couple of phases, right? So
Yeah, I noticed it on the right hand side, and I thought
yeah,
like,
but they were doing it on both sides, right? It wasn't always
yeah,
the same caller. They were keeping each other fresh. They were, keeping each other alive, and it meant that the wingers on Derby were facing a new person pretty much every phase. So trying to like keep the tactics of who you're targeting or what you're trying to look for was actually quite difficult. I think that probably disrupted what Derby were trying to do potentially. I'm not 100% sure, but it was a really interesting way and of like managing it. And from my perspective, I think it like added like that extra, that extra sort of, it got everyone involved in the game for Storm, and it meant that everyone had a role to play, which
yeah,
meant that
make that
everyone
makes
wanted to get
sense.
involved, and that really helped, keep the energy high.
It also meant that whenever they went, like, if one of their players went out on Storm, somebody was fresh and ready to come in. And it worked really well. But I do want to give a shout out on Derby too. I thought Kez had a really good game. I thought she was probably the shining star, and it like she outperformed everybody else on her side of the squad. I felt anyway. Everybody else, I thought they had a good game, but I felt like it wasn't as clinical as they usually are in terms of hit percentage, especially. Um, and I thought Storm were really good at the clutch catches. That is actually really difficult to say. I don't say that often. But it was especially, I think it was the third set for Storm, um, where they were 4-2 down, and somebody pulled off a ridiculously good catch, plucking it from the side, and you just felt something turn in the squad. And it's again, it's like I was talking with Stafford. It's whenever you hype up the little moments like that that just turn a team around, and they've really built on it and built on it, and they just kept clawing. And I haven't seen that from Storm in many other games that I've watched this season. Usually, like, if they win a set and then lose the next one, the heads drop a bit and they kind of let things slip, and the game gets away from them. Whereas I just felt a bit of fight back throughout the entire game. It was really, really good to watch.
Yeah, and I think the Derby side of it, it's interesting because that's 4 draws for Derby now. Um,
Incredible, isn't it?
they haven't lost yet, but they've got 4 draws, and I think they've like dipped off.
They're still not lost.
They're still not lost, but they've got four
That's
freaking
madness.
draws. Um, and like I feel like they've just dipped off a little bit. It's funny because I think we said that, or at least Zoe was saying that at the beginning of the season that Derby last year started off really hot and then sort of trailed off towards the end, and people gained on them. It's kind of happening the same here. And I felt like when watching Derby, there was nothing specifically wrong with their ability or anything like that. But I feel like when they were hyping each other up, they were get like really hyped to enjoy it, like enjoy dodgeball. Whereas like when Storm were getting really hyped, it was like they were buzzing about playing like that match and what was going on. Like they became more energetic and more focused. And I think
Yeah.
Derby were just like getting more into like, oh yes, that was a really good play or whatever, and just getting really hyped and maybe getting hyped in slightly the wrong way in terms of like then wanting to try and prove it themselves, and there's a bit more individual play that was happening, which doesn't play to Derby's strengths because Derby are a really good, well drilled team,
Oh,
um,
100%.
and their accuracy when they get going and their catching as well can be really insane. But if individuals start trying to shoulder the burden too much, then they put themselves in bad situations.
You made a really good point there, which I was meant to point out earlier on, in that in the early sets, Storm are throwing a lot of singles and we're getting punished for it. Whenever they decide to switch up their play and threw a lot more team throws, that's whenever they started bidding off. And the other thing was there was great calling because they were targeting very well. Anybody that was getting any momentum on the Derby side, they were bidding them off with two, and I think once or twice they threw three balls as well. At specific targets, and we're really trying to bait the extra balls out of Derby. I felt like that really made a massive difference throughout the game, which has to be credited.
Yeah, especially in the early sets, I felt like, um, I don't know if this was an intentional strategy that Derby had going into it. Knowing them, I feel like it probably was, but they were pre-throwing everything in the first few sets. and it just meant
Yeah.
that they had no ball possession,
Yeah.
which really like costed them, especially when they were getting down in players or those kind of scenarios, because they had no ability to fight back because they didn't have any balls to fight back with, which normally if they played for possession or they were doing counters, you'd be able to bait the balls and still stay in it and have those two balls to counter again if you release one. But because they were pre-throwing, Storm were like, right, we'll release one, it'll be relatively safe. Sometimes there were some sick catches by Derby, but it'd be relatively safe, and it's just like, right, we've got three balls, let's go again, and like Storm in 3 minutes, Storm can pick you off like that, and you
Oh
only need
yeah.
to win by one person to win a set. So, but yeah, really good game. Like if you haven't watched it, go watch it. Really, really interesting match. I feel like we should
Another
probably
match.
talk about our match to catch from that, which was the Spartans Beagles game.
I haven't actually got around to watching this yet, so you're gonna have to lead me on this one.
Oh, that's gonna go really well. Yeah, because I haven't watched it either. For a match to catch, it's big, pretty rubbish that neither of us watched it.
I do.
Yeah, I don't know. From what I remember, Beagles were playing really well. They were catching. They were their pre throws and counters were really on point, and they were just dodging everything. And it did look like Beagles were playing in form compared to Spartans. So I think it might have been a combination of Eagles playing better than probably expected, or better than we've seen them this season, and then Spartans maybe just not being as clinical as they've been before, a little off kilter. Probably just, I don't know, maybe it's the case of they're all quite match day players and they haven't played, at least as a team, matches together. I know a few of them been playing mixed, but as a team being on court playing women's dodgeball, it's it's slightly different, and I think maybe they just needed to like get going again, and that might have been an issue for them. I don't really
Yeah,
know.
I'm. Whenever they played last time, Spartans came away winning 13-9, something like that. It was 2-set win. Um, and it was the comeback from, I think Beagles were like 4 or 5 sets up, and they had to turn it around. It's that real clash of style, right? Where Spartans play really aggressive, like looking for opportunities, style of play, whereas Beagles are this more controlled, seek the opportunities, like just stay alive, pluck the catches whenever they come, and bin off players as the time comes. So I'm really interested to see whenever I watch it back, um, whether it was this big comeback or whether it was a back and forth battle. It just looked like a really interesting game, and I do wish I got around to watching it beforehand, because I think that we correctly chosen our match to catch this time around. I think.
Yeah, yeah, I think it was a good one. I don't think from memory like what I was able to catch, because I was refereeing on the court next to it. Um, like from what I was able to see at the half times and stuff, was like Bedford really had the energy. Like they were really going for it. They weren't being as conservative or anything like that. They were really taking their opportunities and being aggressive about it, really confident about it. Whereas I think, yeah, like I said, Spartans maybe just little, little laggy after a long break. But
I
just to finish off, unless there's anything else you want to say, I was going to say finish
I
off
was
this
I was
week.
just I was just gonna say I was having a cheeky look on the side, and Spartans were 11-5 up.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
So it was the other way around, where Beagles came back to clutch a draw rather than vice versa, compared
yeah,
to the first meet round.
impressive, very impressive. But yeah, the only other thing I wanted to comment on is, I mean, we said Rangers had a rough one. Valkyries had a real tough day.
Yeah, uh, yeah, they have really not, like. Surely they're out of the running for a top 3 spot now.
Yeah, it's become a
I'm not
three.
even sure it's mathematically possible for them to be in it.
Well, you know what? Shall we have a look?
Let's have a cheeky look.
Let's have a look.
Cheeky monkey.
So, yeah,
Whee!
they're what? 5 points adrift with that's 6 points. If Bedford lose everything and Valkyries win everything, they
Oh, you can't.
could could sneak into the medals, but I think realistically now they're out. They're out of
See
it.
that happening. I think it's a foregone conclusion, to be honest. And looking at the score, like the scored 4 sets as well, like it's probably fair that they're out of the running. Like
Yeah.
Spartans, Phantoms, Beagles have all dominated quite heavily in a lot of their games. So I think it's fair that they're the 3 that are in the running for the gold medal. Once again, probably going to end up going to the final day about who's gonna take home the gold.
I think so. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how everything falls out because I still can't believe like Derby are undefeated and they're second on
It's
points difference
crazy.
because they've got
Four
four
draws.
draws. And it's not even like first place has got 2 losses or whatever. It's like they've got 2 draws as well and 1 loss. Like, man, what is this league?
So many draws. But like,
Yeah.
do you know what's actually mental looking at the table now? Is that 5 teams are pretty much in the running for relegation at the moment.
Yeah, Storm through to Raptors really.
Storm, Queens, Bedford, Storm 2, Raptors. Like, that's a tight group. Like Storm on 10, Queens on 9, Bedford 8, Storm 2 6, Raptors 6, and I think Queens play Storm 2 final game this season as well, I believe. If memory serves, I might have got this wrong.
Not a clue, mate. Not a clue right now.
Where am I?
But yeah, that Rangers having a bad day in the context of how bad a day it was. They lost to last place, and they lost to someone that they're in the fight for. Well, they were 8th at the time.
Yeah, they were ahead of them. Yeah.
So like they lost to 2 really important people they needed to get wins over, and that's really tough for the team to take. From my understanding of like what happened, it was just nothing seemed to go right for them on the day. Just a bit of a just a tough day at the office. It happens at times. You're just off form, not great. And I think Rangers were like that when they came back at the beginning of the season. And it's always interesting when we have this like mid-season break. What happens when people come back, and how different people are affected. It's going to be really interesting next season because we might not have the mid-season break with them all being after Christmas.
There's going to be big breaks between each meet probably.
Yeah, so trying to find some consistency in form will be interesting. But
the other thing I want to point out is how big that loss for Queen Bees against Raptors. If they had won that, they were safe, all but guaranteed safe. Like that is actually a huge loss, and that really keeps them in that battle. Because I was right. Their last game of the season is against Storm 2, and if Storm 2 can clutch a win somewhere, and they've got it in them, like they've given teams like some difficult fixtures over the season. So if they can clutch a win and go into the match against Queen Bees within 2 points, it could be a bit spicy,
Yeah, Sheriffs have done just enough to give themselves safety, but they are bang mid-table now with Valkyries. They're on 7 wins, 7 losses, 14 points, and Valkyries with 3 points ahead on 8 wins and 5 losses and a draw. And then all to play for at the top with Spartans and Phantoms drawing on 24 points and Bedford Mighty Eagles on 22. Can you imagine if Eagles once again come from behind and clutch the league? I mean, absolutely nuts.
And what's mad is that if that happens, that'll be especially Spartans and Derby play each other before the end of the season. That could be the match that decides everything. Because if that's a draw, that brings Beagles really into the game.
Yeah, man, it's nuts. Flipping love how the season goes and dodgeball. Anyway, on to fixtures for week 8. So the Sunday afternoon session. What games take you fancy?
I bet Bedford Raptors games become spicy now.
Yeah, it has to be fair. Yeah,
there's only 2 points between them. That becomes really spicy.
That becomes very interesting. Yeah. That
That
Derby Spartans game, the Derby Spartans.
That is going to be. I think that any result that decides the league.
Yeah.
I think if that's a draw, I reckon Beagles turn it around.
Yeah. If it's a draw, it screws both of them over. One of them needs to win.
Even if Derby win it, because in the last meet, Derby played Beagles. So if Derby win that and Beagles can swing it around, that could also make it interesting as well.
Yeah, man, it makes it interesting.
So many outcomes.
Even if Derby win, the problem is they have terrible set difference because of all their draws.
It's
because like Bedford My Eagles have better set difference.
Give them credit, they're still really high up there in terms of the.
Yeah, they got like 98 or something like that. But Bedford My Eagles are higher set difference than them, and they've lost more games. Like.
Yeah, but if Derby beats Spartans, and obviously Spartans set difference comes down and theirs goes up. So
yeah, but Bedford's
kind of even out.
Like Bedford's.
Oh, Bedford is a fair bit ahead. Fair, yeah, you're right. You're right.
So it'd be an interesting one how that one pans out. I also think another interesting game will be Rangers Storm 1, because let's say.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Rangers Stafford gets interesting. Rangers really need to try and pull something out against Storm 1, who are also kind of in that relegation battle too, depending on what happens. And if Storm don't get that win, that's a really tough position to be in for Storm, because I don't think they're going to beat Bedford earlier in the day.
I think Storm need to win that to confirm Super
Safety. League
next year. Could you imagine both Storms go down in one season? Oh, I kind of want to see it, can't I? You'd still have to see an issue of having to do first and seconds in the one league.
Man, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's your
opinion. I don't think it will happen.
I don't think it will.
It would be. It would.
I don't want Rangers to go down either.
Who do you want to go down? God, say it with chest.
Storm 2, because they're a second team in the Super League.
Yeah, you do. He does have a hatred for that. That's not the personal against Storm. He just
nothing sort of just don't like second team in the Super League. No, it's just seconds in the Super League. Any other league, don't give a shit. Just Super Leagues, no seconds, no seconds teams. Oh, you know what? I'd just say, like, screw it for this year. Can we just have like one team relegated? Because I honestly think Super League is such an interesting position right now, and with Raptors growing, if they manage to stay up for another season, I think they're going to be really, like, a real team to mess with next year. They
have to keep their squad.
Yeah, but like I reckon they'll be pushing for. I reckon they'll be pushing for mid-table.
Like, yeah, but mid-table is a relegation battle at the moment.
Yeah, no, but like they're late to the party of being in the mid-table at the moment because they had such a slow start.
I'd agree. Yeah,
and I think from the off next season it will be a dogfight. If
I don't know. You've got to remember that one of their wins was against the Queen's team that had lost a load of people and were basically rejigging itself completely. Another one is against the Queen's side that again is still kind of regrouping. They've got some like really big wins. And to be honest, they probably should have given Raptors a better game.
I don't think they lost to. Have they lost? They've lost to be the second time because they Storm and Raptors have beaten each other. They've beaten
Raptors have done the double on Queens. Queen. We literally looked at this seconds ago, mate.
Yeah, we looked at one. They've only got 3 wins.
Queens beat Rangers and lost to Raptors.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, so
wow,
Raptors have done the double. So Raptors have done the double over Queens. I can't remember who they got.
Oh, no, so Raptors didn't play Rangers. It was Storm that beat Rangers, wasn't it? Sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
Then Raptors beat
Storm beat Rangers, yeah.
Storm 2, yeah. Sorry. Apologies.
Yeah,
audio listeners screaming at us that we're getting it wrong again. Two dudes chatting with a microphone. Okay, chill. Yeah. It could be an interesting. It's Women's Super
So
League.
like
Who knows?
I think Raptors have gotten a lot better, but I don't know if mid-table fight is where they'll be next season unless they bring in somebody massive next season.
It also depends on who comes up.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Speaking of which, oh wait, no, we've got to go on to predictions yet.
Match to catch.
Damn it, getting ahead of myself. Well, yeah, let's get on to that. Match to catch is Spartans versus Derby. Who would have thunk it? Oh man, this is really hard because based after our Spartans absolutely threw away that game against.
Yeah,
Eagles.
knowing that now has really made me.
But also knowing how good Derby are, just like clutching a draw, man. Like,
do you get the Derby that has played? Like, are you getting peak Derby? Or are you getting the Derby that turned up against Storm?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think if it's the one that turned up against Storm and although they're playing like they're making the right decisions, they're not as clinical. Spartans will punish them massively.
Do me proud, Derby.
Do me proud, Derby.
Do me proud, Derby.
Wow. I'm gonna go with Spartans then, because screw you, Nick. No, I genuinely think Spartans will take this. I think it'll be a tight affair though.
Yeah, I do genuinely believe that's not just me trying to get more points on the board. I do genuinely believe that Derby can and will win this. I don't think they're the team that will accept the performance of how they've been doing lately, and knowing how they regroup over summer and stuff like that, and they do really well at the beginning of the season. I think this is another opportunity for them to get their heads down and sort it out before the end of the season. And this is a really big game for them to do that.
They're unbeaten for a reason, but I don't know. I just that watching that game against Storm really didn't fill me with confidence for how the season's going to finish up.
Right, they drew to a B team that's struggling as well, So they've had a really mixed season.
It's so weird.
They're so Spartans, man. Like, they've got a loss and 2 draws as well.
Yeah, but one of the draws is against a Beagle side that has the experience.
They drew to Beagles and they drew to Derby and they lost to
Derby, who have undefeated this season. Who did they lose to?
Was it Beagles the first time? Or was it Valkyries?
the beat Beagles. Oh, Valkyries, yeah, I think it was Valkyries.
Yeah, well, they are a wild card. So yeah, but I don't know. Could be an interesting one. Bevers, for our audio listeners, Bevers is saying there is a 42% win chance for Spartans. And that is...
I still don't know what the percentages mean. I just know that Spartans are more likely to win whatever.
If you've got a bigger... I think it is, and Bevers is going to be rolling in pain with how bad I'm explaining this. But my gut feeling is essentially all the percentages add up to 100%. And whoever has the highest percentage is the most likely outcome, right? So there's a draw percentage, a win percentage, and a lose percentage, which is why you can get less than 50% and still win. I could be wrong, but I think that's how it works. Maths,
statistics. My head hurts. It's too late in the evening for this.
Do maths, kids. It's good. It's good for you.
Do maths, kids.
Oh man.
Anyway, what are we moving on to next, my dear friend?
Oh well, we are moving on to when I can get my act together.
Some things will never happen, no matter how much you want them to.
No. What I really need is someone like off camera just sorting it out for us. You know what I mean?
So you mean a producer?
Yeah, one of those things. That'd be nice to have, wouldn't it? Oh, could you imagine if a producer? That'd be sick. I'd never be able to like give up the control like that, but like it would be so helpful. Anyway,
never mind.
Women's League One. Let's talk about this.
You won't let me chat my shit.
I think you chat shit the whole time, man. One thing that honestly like blew my mind when I was writing out the scores for this is there were 4 matches that finished 15-7.
Oh shit! Yeah, 2 of them happened Oh no, never mind.
Two happened at the same time. Oh no, wait,
No,
no,
they didn't
sorry.
because it's 17-5.
Three, yeah,
Yeah.
75. Yeah, that's how tired I am, lads. But like, yeah, we had 3 matches in a row that will finish 15-7, which I just thought was quite funny.
It is.
Um,
I like it. Statistic. You should
yeah,
have swapped. You should have swapped the teams around to make it on the same line.
yeah, just for the lols, just for the lols. It was like that. It was like the very first league meet where there was like a bunch of matches that finished 16-8 or something like that.
Yeah. Oh my god. Anyway, Nick,
man.
what stands out in the results for you?
So, I mean, we'll get on to Wessex White Tigers in a bit because actually, no, we'll cover it now. Wessex didn't turn up. They did not play that very well. It is an interesting scenario with them because obviously Lawrence left. So someone who's a very aggressive winger, someone who would probably throw that ball away, but also get a pretty decent percentage of hits with it, and really gave them that clinical edge on counters was missing. But it does mean that Wessex are a bit more unified in their play style. They're very much more a catchy team, a dodgy team, and can do the group throws. And White Tigers, they are just going to throw hard at you, and you've got to deal with it. And meanwhile, they'll be able to dodge pretty well. They're a hard team to deal with. Leeds found this out, and they were still gelling as a bit of a team at the time, and sort of had a meltdown and couldn't deal with it. Wessex were arguably doing the same thing with a team change or a slight bit of the team change, and it just White Tigers can capitalise on that, which is really interesting. I personally think the more interesting game is how White Tigers beat Hartlepool earlier, 17-5, because if I remember correctly, Hartlepool beat White Tigers the first time round. Because White Tigers have lost to two teams, and that is Wessex and Hartlepool. They've beaten us at Leeds, and then they've beaten Wessex the second time round, and they haven't played Leeds the second time round. So their only two losses are Wessex and Hartlepool, which is really interesting because they really did, the good result, 17-5 over Hartlepool. Shows how much they've grown over the season. They've even lost a player to Valkyries as well. So they're still going from strength to strength. Really makes the end of the season interesting in terms of where all the teams are for that one. I mean,
it's definitely similar to Super League, right? We've got three teams that are comfortably dominating over the rest. There's no shame in losing to that White Tigers team, like as Leeds found out earlier on this season. Like they're a good squad, and everybody's kind of had this whole it's Leeds versus Wessex, but to give White Tigers credit, they've literally won every other game that they've played in, and deserve a lot more credit than personally I've given them anyway. I don't know about you. I know you've kind of been hyping them up for a whack this season.
I think it's a difficult one for them because they lost to Hartlepool so early on. Like it was the second league meet they lost to Hartlepool.
Yeah. And I think that kind of made me take my eye off them for a whack of the season. But yeah, they definitely deserve to be there, and if all they have to do is just keep on winning, and they could be in a shot with coming out on top.
Yeah.
I'm sure Wessex will be backing them to win every game possible now at this stage as well. Yeah, I don't know who's most likely to drop points either. Like, obviously, I need to take.
Well, so Leeds still have to play White Tigers and Wessex.
Played both?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that and played White Tigers.
Yeah, so they're playing Wessex next, and they play White Tigers, the penultimate game of the season. Well, Leeds have a really hard run into the end of the season, right? The 4 teams they've got left, they've got Honeybees, they've got Wessex, they've got White Tigers, and they have Spartans too. Which last time, right, in the finals, in the final set against, in the less than 3 minute set against Spartans, Leeds were up by, no, they were drawing and they were winning the set. Spartans stepped off court to make a 1 minute set, which meant that Spartans could draw the match against Leeds. Leeds ended up winning, so they got a 2-set win. But that's the nail biting kind of edge they're going to have to go with. And for those who didn't know, Lauren's moved from Wessex to Spartans, so that edge she gives to Wessex, she's helping out with Spartans now, and it's going to be interesting because I think that play style very much suits Spartans. They have those really counter-attacking players there. Liv's really good at it as well, and they have some really really potent catches. So it's they are going to be a really tough team, and like just to ignore Leeds for a second and this whole top of the table battle. I'll be remiss if I don't mention the absolute craziness happening in the mid-table because we got Phantoms 2 who drew to Wessex last league meet, losing to Crocs. Crocs losing quite heavily to Spartans 2. Spartans 2 losing to Nighthawks, and Nighthawks losing to Leeds. Like, that mid-table is such an absolute carnage that everyone can beat each other that there's no predicting what's going to happen. It is nuts. It's absolutely crazy. And they're all absolutely great games. Like that Spartans 2 Nighthawks game, I remember watching it. And this was one of those examples where Nighthawks really stuck to a game plan and actually managed to, keep their callers on the court and really go at Spartans and play in a methodical way which suited them. And, capitalised on Spartan's mistake, which was why they ended up winning in the end. But that was a really good game to watch back or watch in person. So that's my overall rundown of Women's League One for those that weren't able to watch it.
And never forget that Nick supports Wessex.
Yeah, I don't support Leeds at all, which is the club that I'm associated to. Definitely not. Yeah, no bias whatsoever.
That meme will never die.
Wrong league.
That's the Women's Super League, you silly man.
Yeah, silly not team. So, Women's League One. Leeds are now at the top. Get in.
You're disappointed because Wessex dropped 2 places. Get it right. Jeez.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, really heartbroken. Wessex now down in third.
Worst supporter ever.
Yeah.
No, it's a really tight run for the top 3.
And it's a tight run for 4th.
Yeah, like mid-table's pretty much like done and dusted in terms of who's going to be in there. All of them are pretty much out of relegation. All of them are out of relegation and out of medal contention, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's just a pride thing between them now. Well, I think it would be really good for. I think Spartans 2 in particular, with how tricky a fixtures they've got coming up. It'd be really interesting to see if they can try and build some momentum, with the signing of Lauren, and really coming together as a team throughout the season. Speaking to some of them, like they're gaining a lot more confidence, more and more throughout as the season continues. And there's enough quality in there that they could be thinking about going for a medal spot next season. And ending this season on a high would be really good for them in terms of pushing on. It just gives you something like extra to fight for in that manner, I always thought.
Yep.
So yeah, no, it definitely interesting, but I could not tell you now who's going to win.
No.
Overall.
Or who's going to get promoted? There's only 2 promotion spots, and there are 3 teams that can get it.
Oh, that's a really tight one. I think Lauren could be a big loss for Wessex in terms of whenever you need that extra spark, that extra aggression in your squad.
I think they become a bit more one-dimensional, but
yeah, that's kind of what I mean. Like,
yeah,
I think if they're able to control the match early on, brilliant. Like they'd be great at seeing it out. It's if they're like 2 or 3 sets down, it's who's going to step up to really drag the team through a difficult period. I'm not sure. Nobody really sticks out in my head in being able to really clutch that.
Yeah.
So I think it might just be a bit much for Wessex now. But I could also very much see Leeds losing to White Tigers, which might swing the momentum out of their favor. Like, whenever they first played White Tigers, like that squad fell apart. Like, they just did not turn up for it at all. If White Tigers are able to kind of plant that seed of doubt in Leeds' heads, you never know what could happen.
Yeah, it was a really interesting example of how this could happen, because in their game against Nighthawks, I think they were 7-1 up at half time. Oh no, it must be 7-3 or something like that. They built a relatively comfortable lead, and I think it was like it got to 9-7, and I think it finished like 15-7 or something like that. Like, I can't remember what it was, the final score. Yeah. But like that was Leeds dug themselves a hole in terms of letting Nighthawks come right back into it, and they finished off the match strong, which is why the score looks like it is. But that was fully down to, like, Leeds had a bit of a lazy start to the second half, and Nighthawks fully took advantage on it. Like, full credit to them on really like pushing Leeds and being like, hey, no, we're in with a shot to win this match. And it's whether or not they can do that against White Tiger. Like, if you look at the three teams at the top, in my opinion, you've got Wessex, which are a very catch-heavy team, and they are trying to bait you into throwing singles to catch. And they are going to then use group throws and try and ping you using group throws rather than, two balls at a time. They're going to try and play for ball possession, to have two balls and go for the catches. You got White Tigers, which are probably a run-heavy team and a very heavy throwing team. They want to hit you out. They're less fussed about catching you. And then you got Leeds, which is, again, quite a heavy catching team, but also very good at their counters. Like, their running counters is probably where they get most of their hits out from. Their double group throws and things like that are pretty good. They're not at the level of White Tigers, I don't think. And it just means you've got three very different play styles playing each other, and just seeing which one's gonna win out is going to be really interesting. But I do want to say, for our listeners, Mavericks on 15 in fourth, 15 points. Nighthawks on 14 in fifth. Phantoms 2 on 14 in sixth, and Spartans 2 on 13 in seventh. And the set difference is wild, because Mavericks are still on -10 in fourth, with 7 wins and the 6 losses. Like, they're like the four of them are beating each other like crazy. It is such a nutty group to watch and play. Like, any of those matches could be match to catches, because they're great, genuinely great.
But they can't all be, though, can they, Nick? What is the match to catch?
Oh, well, we've got to go into fixtures and find out what else has been played.
Shit, yeah, I forgot the order.
It's been a while.
That would have been such a great segue.
Oh, bloody league again. Oh, my days.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. Here we go. Where's League One? Oh, man. Again, some tasty fixtures. Crocs Nighthawks is going to be good, because Crocs always put up a fight, and I think they have a good shot at winning that one, to be perfectly honest. Hartlepool, again, they really, really pushed Wessex last time when they played them. Hartlepool Crocs, also going to be a fascinating game. Two teams that have a very similar play style, very similar group of players and ability, in my opinion. In terms of their talent and how they're gathering it. So that is going to be, in terms of like a fan favourite match, that would be a fan favourite match in my opinion, because I do love Hartlepool and Crocs. So I'd definitely say go down and watch that. That'd be a great
White
game.
Tigers Spartans 2 game is going to be really good as well, I reckon.
And Spartans 2 Derby 2 as well, based on the fact that Derby 2 have beaten drew to Wessex. That's also going to be a great one. And also Honeybees against Sheriffs 2, bottom of the table. It really sucks that this league is not going to be streamed, and it's on the evening session on a Sunday, because not many people are going to be stuck around to watch it, but it is going to be a really good set of matches to watch.
Nick will be selling tickets. Go on, Nick. You live stream it.
I'll be a gatekeeper to watch it. It would be genuinely be good, but
it will be. Yeah.
Yeah, some really good mid-table battles there, bottom of the table battles, and top of the table battles. Which, yeah, I guess leads us on to our match to catch,
The match to catch.
which I think is really it's a really surprising one. I'm not gonna
Drum
lie.
roll, please.
No one saw this one, right? So the home team's Leeds, right, and the away team,
Honeybees.
yes, definitely is the answer. No, it's Wessex. Wessex v
Wessex
Leeds.
Wolves. Wessex v Leeds.
It ended in a draw last time with
did.
a ball mid-flight being whistled dead, stopping Leeds from claiming the win. Who's going to win it this time?
Go on, I'll let you go first because you're the one. Your two favorite teams in the league playing each other.
It's like, what am I going to choose? Like, I'm going to choose a team. Mate, obviously, I'm backing the Leeds women, like 100%. I think they've got this. Not to jinx
Here's my issue.
Zoe, you're not here right now, so Colm's just going to rip into you.
It's not a rip. It's not a rip in, but I just, I think it's a mentality thing with Leeds. Is that killer instinct? Is that killer, winning mentality in there? For the big game. Because they kind of dipped off the first time around whenever they played. Felt they didn't really rise to the occasion. Then they lost to White Tigers, and there's just a part of me that thinks that big game mentality just isn't there. So you know what? After all the shit I chatted about Wessex earlier on, I'm gonna predict Wessex.
Disgusting.
I'm picking. If Nick's not gonna back his team, I'll back his team for him.
What is interesting is Bev's also backed Wessex. He's got a 50% win.
I'm surprised by that. I can't lie.
Well, this is the thing, is that for those of us that know and watched, based on the performance of Wessex, I personally think Leeds would look favourites going into this. Based on how they performed, like they did a really solid performance against Nighthawks and a really good performance against Sheriffs 2 last league meet. It looks like things are starting to click for them. But having said that, I know we've been saying like it's a Leeds and Wessex thing and not really considering White Tigers, but there's a reason that Wessex have been in first place up until now, apart from when they drew last time, was because they were undefeated. They hadn't lost a single game. And you don't get to stay at the top without losing a single game unless you're playing well.
Mm-hmm.
And they are a solid team. So like there is stats would back Wessex in that sense because they haven't lost until they played White Tigers recently. So yeah, it's interesting.
He does like Wessex after all.
I do like Wessex after all,
You should send them a gift basket.
They ain't no Leeds though, so big up the north.
Bait them first before you say that, mate.
I'm confident. I'm fully confident in the team. To show my
last time you said that didn't end up too well, did it?
Last time I think I betted for Wessex to try and give us good juju going into it.
Oh no, but because that was before the Leeds White Tigers game, right?
I can't remember.
I think so. I thought the last time you bigged up Leeds before a big game was against White Tigers where they got beat.
Maybe.
And I got threatened for manifesting the win. Anyway.
Anyway, yeah. So, Men's Super League. I'll be real. I haven't watched any of this apart from one game.
I've watched a fair bit of it. I say a fair bit. I think I've watched like three.
I find it so hard to get motivated to watch Men's Super League. Like,
You're
sorry guys,
bonkers. You are bonkers.
Like I, you know what? spoilers for our video listeners, but when we get to the table, you'll notice that after what was supposedly a crazy week of like all these matches and stuff, no changes in the league table whatsoever. No one's moved up, no one's moved down. Everything stays the same.
Hold on. That's happened so many times in the leagues that you big up and you said nothing.
No, that's not
You
true.
said absolutely is.
Like what? Like women's league one, that they've moved quite a lot in the mid table. Crocs and Derby have moved around a fair bit. Men's league one. Men's league one. Like bees have dropped from second to fifth.
Go to hell. Go to hell. Just because you have vendetta against it does not make it a bad league.
I find it dull. Anyway, right, go on. Tell me why this was a fantastic day of dodgeball for Men's League Super League.
You tell me anybody that would have predicted Spartans to beat Meteors 16-8. Anybody. Tell me that. And then Meteor's Storm comes down to one set. Derby Rangers after beating Bays, who are above them, and then Derby to go. Actually, are you sure that was 12-10 for the Derby?
That's Rangers? What it says.
I thought it was bigger than that. But anyway, Derby were absolutely battering Rangers for a shit ton of the. You're actually right too. Didn't realize I finished that tight. Yeah, there's some really good matches.
Okay,
just because you're not invested in the league does not make the matches less.
No, I will say I think there is like to say my piece is like some of the games are really fascinating. Like I do wish I'd watched the Derby Rangers game. I did watch like about 3/4 of the Storm Meteors game because that caught my eye in terms of the result. That is not what I expected at all. And
don't worry, we're gonna get onto the incident.
Yeah, we'll get there. But that like Spartans Meteors, man, like. I said it on the last podcast. I feel like that was preordained, to be honest. Like Meteors have had.
I think look at their
set. If you look at their set difference, they haven't been that convincing, in my opinion, like this season. And Spartans playstyle. We saw how they played them against them last time. Spartans playstyle is literally like the antithesis of Meteors. It works so well against them. It does mean Spartans are a bit more susceptible to the rest of the league because the rest of the league play in a way that sort of matches Spartans, and it means that it then comes a case of who can do it better, and that's why Spartans do come close at times. But Spartans versus Meteors is such a clash of styles that it means that and Spartans just doing it better, and it works well against Meteors. But Meteors are so good they can. Easily come away with wins. Apart from Storm.
I think a big reason why this one wasn't as tight is that you could tell Brett was carrying an ankle injury and wasn't nearly as mobile as he usually is. And Spartans pinned him off quite easily. Compared to previous meetings against each other, which I don't think helped at all.
I still think Spartans were going to win that match.
Probably. To be fair, but I think you're a criminal for trying to say this is a boring league. Absolutely criminal.
Look, okay, fine, but like that match itself.
No, don't downplay it. Don't downplay it. You know you've got an agenda with what you're saying, mate.
I do. I'm not that fussed by this league, but I'm happy to talk about it. I know other people really enjoy it, so we're here to please the masses, not please me.
Criminal.
I'm gonna get ripped into this on Sunday.
Oh, I can't wait to hear what people are gonna say about that. Fuck me.
Anyway.
Jesus.
But yeah, go on. Shall we talk about the Meteor Storm game?
It was both Tim Day's best and worst performance. He was. Honestly, in terms of like his actual impact in the game, Tim Day was immense. Like he could do no wrong, up until the fact he got really pissed off at Adam Badley, correctly as Matt Whale identified, hit Dan Giddings out with a dead ball, and then decided even though the referees were debating it, and the Storm players had walked on court, and the Meteor players that walked on court decided to do a leap of faith and batter Dan Giddings. And to be honest, I thought he got very lucky to only get a penalty set. I would have went with at least a yellow, potentially a red, arguably. It was very unnecessary. Could have been seen as aggressive play. Like, that whole situation was fucking bonkers. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, Matt Wheel on his Matt Does Dodge YouTube channel does a very good video breaking down the before and after of the play. It was actually, to be fair, from watching the live stream, it was very exciting to watch, but the whole thing was fucking bonkers.
Apart from the big discussion afterwards with the refs trying to figure it out, and that's always really fun to watch.
Well, that's the same with any sport, isn't it? Like VAR in football at this point. No. It was just so bad. I've never seen anything like that happening before. And it's so unlike Tim as well. Tim was one of the most like nicest guys you'll meet in dodgeball. Just has this moment of fuck the refs. just storms up court. And he's obviously sees like Fowler and, you know, his brother Johnny like lining up behind Dan. Dan, who's like stood off court whenever he gets hit by Tim as well. And I'm just sitting there going like, what are you thinking?
To defend the situation from Tim's perspective as much as I can, and this is just being more devil's advocate than anything, is if you watch what happened, Matt clearly points out that Tim is chatting to Adam and clearly does not see that the ref has pointed to say.
No, I can agree with that. But however, whenever he's running towards Dan, he can clearly see there's 6 Storm players.
No. I look, again. I agree with that. But then Matt's point on Dan was off court. He has his foot on the line. If you're at the back of the court, if you're on Tim's perspective and you've just been told this thing, you're not going to be watching whether or not their foot is on court on that. It's one foot is on the line. He's not clearly stood off court.
I agree with that. But there's 6 people in front of him.
No, I'm getting there. Let me just go through my logic, right?
Right. Okay,
so
continue.
From Tim's perspective, he's not seen that the head referee, has disagreed with Adam's perspective.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
From his perspective, he would also see Dan still on court. Therefore, he would probably go, right, screw it, let's get this definitely done, over and done with, and I'm just going to finish this because we've won the set anyway, right? That's the logic I can see, and I can see how you could get to that conclusion of I'm just going to suicide because it gets the set over and done with. I can see it from that perspective.
I can agree up until the fact that as he's running up, he sees all the Storm players there. There's no way he's thinking to himself, yeah, this set's still going on. There's no way. Unless he's got pure tunnel vision on.
I don't. No. Again.
But like, look at the like freeze frame of whenever Tim starts running up. Right, you've got Dan with his foot in the line, so like he has no idea that Dan's got his foot in the line, right? But Dan's got like 2 players on one side of him and 1 Storm player.
Oh yeah, the ball bounces off Cam as well. Like
yeah, there's no way Tim doesn't realize that.
No.
This isn't still going. No way in my head.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying I can see the progression of thought to get to that.
Oh no, I can see why he starts charging up court because like he's not looked. He just grabs the ball and then makes a beeline for it, right?
Yeah, and this is why I'd probably say there isn't an element of that. There's a reduced case of, and this is just my opinion.
Well, this is it. Like,
there's a reduced case of, like, it's not like aggression, or it's not like, you know, it's not intentionally trying to hit someone. It's not like fuck Dan in particular. I do not see it as that.
I don't see it as fuck Dan, but I can see how a referee could go, this is a guy who's acting out about a referee's decision and has intentionally gone after that player. It's like, for me, it's like, it's borderline like close range intentional headshot kind of territory.
Yeah, maybe. I'd say that the bigger issue for me is Meteor starting with 3 players on court
I was going to get onto this afterwards, actually.
And
Joe Brown's a cheat here. I'm gonna call it because he was out for a good 30 seconds before that.
I
happens.
no idea what the consequences are going to be. I don't know
There
how.
has to be.
There has to be
Because
something.
he was, if it was like simultaneous play sort of thing, I could understand it. But he was out for 30. I literally counted it 30 seconds before Tim made that hit on Dan Gittins.
Yeah.
There's no way he thinks he's in.
No,
there's no shadow of a doubt he thinks he's in. He's literally he watches that go on. He literally watches Tim make that hit on Dan from the outbox.
Yeah, I don't know.
That one's criminal.
Yeah,
and if it's a 2-on-1 situation, it gives Dan a hell of a better chance.
Yeah, massively so. And I think that has to be looked back. But I don't know if it is. I don't know if it will be.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like from a spectator's perspective, I hope that gets looked at from BD, and I hope something
100%.
happens because you should just not be doing that. That's just wrong. That is straight up.
I'd argue that is a lot worse than what Tim did, in my opinion. Because
I'd agree.
As much as you can play devil's advocate, and there's a very slight thing going in favor of Tim, as you explained, there's no good explanation as to why Joe Brown should be on court. No explanation.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think the other thing that I'd want, there's nothing that you can be done about it, but something that should be considered somehow, and I don't think it's in the rules or can be considered that way, but Tim's hit with a dead ball was a headshot on Dan. I know he was back at court.
Do you mean the leap of faith, or do you mean as a
No, with the dead ball, like it was a headshot,
right.
and then Dan gets hit by a leap of faith. Again, it wasn't on the head or anything. He just gets hit by a ball, and then he has to play. Then he has to deal with a 3-ball attack, which I think he gets hit in the head again. Like that again. As far as we can tell, there's nothing wrong with being hit in the head with a dodgeball. Like it's it happens. Concussions can happen and stuff like that. We don't think Dan's concussed or anything, but just from a case of like intent or like player welfare and stuff like that, you put a player in a dangerous situation because of what you're doing with the leap of faith in terms of what's just happened. It's unnecessary, unsportsmanlike aggravation, but also especially after a hit. Most people would apologise after doing a headshot. I can understand when a game like this why you don't. It's just you get on with it.
Did he not apologise?
He didn't apologise after the headshot. I don't know if he realised it was a headshot or not, but he didn't, which I thought was a big surprise because I know Tim's usually that kind of guy that would say sorry for it, unless I missed it. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a bit. The whole situation was weird, man. But
I've never seen something as bonkers as that. That was weirder than the only other like weird situation I've seen was whenever I think it was like one of the Euros games where Neely went for a leap of faith and missed it, and on his way back round, gave a pat in the back to whoever he was throwing at. I think it was like Kelvin or Wyson maybe, and then got yellow carded for touching a player. That's the closest to something as bizarre as this ever happening.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. I'd have hated to have refereed that. I can't lie, because it was just.
Yeah,
it was so unprecedented. I wouldn't know exactly the levels of.
Well, yeah, and as Matt points out, it's just is you look at the line refs and it's just the absolute disbelief on literally everyone around. Wait, what's just happened? And then on top of that, John C being oh, I can see what's going to happen here. Steps back out of the way. I thought that was so funny.
The one thing that I'm very curious about is, so Badley watched Tim go to the not go behind the line.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, but if I'm line reffing that, I'd be kind of not just put my hands up. I'd be ball's not live or something along those lines. I'm curious as to whether
it's not on the ref to say that.
You don't have to, but
I think
he's not done anything wrong, and that's it.
I think there's a whole discussion to be had, because I know in Euros there was a very big thing at Euros last year about carding ball retrievers who gave a player a ball in front of the
Oh
ball
yeah,
return line.
it's against in Euros rules. It's against the rules to hand the ball to somebody ahead of the return line, right?
Yeah, which is interesting because like for me, it's on the player receiving the ball to know that that ball's live. In my
I think
opinion, like they are.
I think it's on the team.
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
on both of them. I think
If the player releases the ball, I think it's on the player.
yes, I would agree with that. Like it's on the ball retriever to also let the player know that whether they're ahead of the line or not. But I think it's wrong to punish them for collecting it ahead of
Oh
it.
yeah, yeah,
I
no,
think
yeah, I agree
I
with
think
that.
is there I don't know if you know this or not, but I think the reasoning is so that players cannot aren't able to block using balls that aren't actually live kind of scenario.
Oh, I don't know. I don't
It's
know the
hard.
Euros rules that.
I believe that's like what they're trying to deter.
Yeah,
Like
I
the
don't
reason
know
why
the Euros
rules
rules
get
that
added
well.
is because there's a situation that can happen if they do X, Y, and Z. I think the situation they're trying to deter from is either putting players off using a dead ball or being able to block using a dead ball. I think that's why they're frowned upon
Yeah,
um collecting the balls ahead of the return line. But I think it's really harsh to properly punish doing it personally. But
yeah.
hey ho.
Anyway, to actually talk about the game itself, what I found really interesting about it is Storm looked bloody amazing in that game, in my opinion. That is one of the most cohesive games I've seen Storm play in a while, and like the way that Johnny and Steve were playing together on the wings, and they were cross-courting people on pre-throws and counters. It was magnificent. And then how Cam and Dan between the two of them were like just dodging everything. I think
Yeah.
there was a set where Storm were 4-2 up. It goes to 2v2, and it was Dan and Cam versus two Meteors players. And like the way that Cam and Dan like dealt with the two players, they were dodging everything. Like the play style of Cam and Dan is very different from the rest of Storm because they're bigger
Massively.
arms and stuff like that. And it just they knew how to play with each other, knew how to counter, and it was really great to see a Storm team really playing together as a unit. I thought it was really good.
The other thing in terms of Cam, especially, Dan done it a few times as well. The big difference between Storm and Meteor in a lot of the sets was high up court survival rates from Cam and Dan in particular were incredible compared to Joe Brown, Nick Mester, basically anybody in the Meteor squad really. If they were caught up court, usually went out. Whereas Cam was making some ridiculous dodges like face to face with
Mm.
people and then sometimes able to even make a hit after making the dodge, and shit like that makes a massive difference. Like
Huge.
that's why I'm a big advocate for having at least one, ideally two, kind of small, nimble, agile middle players, because stuff like that where they're able to make themselves as small as possible, making the big dodges out of the way as well, makes such a difference in games like this. And that's the reason why Storm are able to stay in it, is because of moments like that make the
100%.
world of difference. It was really interesting to watch. If genuinely, if you're trying to become a better middle player, watching the big moments in that game from Cam and Dan, are how you see what you need to do more in situations like that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think just one other thing as well. I didn't really catch the Spartans Meteors game, but I'd be very curious to know if Meteors were on catching form in that Spartans game because they were fishing like crazy at the beginning of that Storm game.
Especially for the tombstones, is like
It's just
I
like it
noticed
was
it
not
in both
needed.
matches.
Like,
Like I get the tombstone is like if you're able to set yourself for it really well, it's a really effective way of catching. But like every time the ball was like super high above them, they kept reaching for it every single
yeah.
time, and they were going out for it. And I was just like,
Or they
if
were
you're
planting on their knees at the back of court looking for
yeah,
catches. And it's like, look, like don't get me wrong, Meters are a fantastic team and they can
oh,
make those
incredible, yeah.
catches like that and don't even have to think about it. But I feel like if you've just played Spartans and it's shown it's not your day, don't fucking risk it against Storm. They're not a bad team. They're fourth in the league, I think. Like they are a solid team. Why risk it? Why play like that? Like go play Meteor's dodgeball, which is just health of leather counters and a bit of craziness. Like, you didn't need to go for those catches. You can do it, but do it as a like, you know, the off time speciality when your blood's pumping, your adrenaline's high, your reaction time's really high because you're running up and down court like crazy. Whereas like the first couple of sets that they were playing, like they were playing quite far back, and only a couple of players were really like high up and being aggressive. It was just really weird. One thing I do want to say, and I said I'd quote him on this, is in Sam Lab's 1v1, right? I was watching it from the sideline at the time, and I saw him go for, and I was like, "Oh, Sam's got this." Like I backed him to win that, and I thought he's going to win it. And I spoke to him afterwards. He was like, "Yeah, he definitely could have won it if he'd gone for the throw or whatever." But he said, "I wanted to win it on a catch because it's just big dick energy." And I'm like, you know what? I rate it. I fucking rate it. Like, all to you. If you're gonna do that, like,
basically what I'm
go
hearing
for
is
it.
he's got a tiny PP. That's all.
You heard it here, lads.
He looked an absolute twat. I can't lie.
It was so funny.
It was such a shit way to go out.
It was, especially when it was such a winnable set for them as well. But
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
and he
hilarious.
like you would usually back him to do at least go for something big in those scenarios, and it made him look really small.
Nah, it was a good game. But yeah, anything you want to say about the Rangers Derby game while we're here?
Derby were 10-2 up at one stage to bring it, but yeah. I legit
is this Derby or is this Wessex? Who are we talking about here?
Today's the week of bottle jobs, really.
We'll get on to that.
To be fair to Derby, at least they held it. Rangers done really well to get back into it. We know, like, the players Rangers have, like, the mentality in them is we will win this set. Like, no matter how far they're down, like they could be 20-0 down at halftime, and they'll still come back going, we're gonna win everything else. Like, and that mentality really showed. And props to Derby. We've said this all season. They're a really difficult team to beat. Like, they're just the discipline that they're showing on court, the decision making, the calling has been really on point. It's been getting better and better. They know how to break down most teams' play styles. They still kind of struggle against certain teams, but they're getting better and better. And I think they're going to be a really interesting team to watch next season because they're going out swinging this year. They're definitely going out swinging this year for sure.
Yeah, that definitely. No, it would be definitely be an interesting one. And good job. Rangers on the I'm pretty sure it was in the end, and it got me at the time, but the April Fools of Tamas leaving to Storm. 10 out of 10. I full on fell for that one. That was great content. Absolutely love it. 10 out of 10. Man. I am, but I own up to it. That was brilliant. Loved it.
Love that. Absolutely love that. My king. I
apologise for the whatever cut this is going to come out as. Apparently, I updated the entire table apart from the points. So actually, this table looks a bit more interesting than I thought because you've got 3 teams on 16.
I was literally going to say, if you do not big up the mid-table battle the same way you've bigged up all the other mid-table battles.
You know what? I fucking am. Actually, I'm interested in this mid-table battle now, and I was actually thinking about this before. I'm dead interested in how Storm and Bees do next season because they've got better. Both teams have got better as the season's gone on. I think Bees started off well, to be fair, but Storm have definitely got better as the season's gone on. And I'm just curious to see, like, what that will look like next season, because it definitely felt like last year there was like 3 teams in the fight of Rangers, Meteor, Spartans, and Rangers just couldn't really hang with them in the end. But this kind of feels the same with Bees, and maybe we just haven't given them enough credit for only being 2 wins behind. Yeah. I mean, the table's still wrong because I've not got Meteors as other loss on there, but
you've also got 1 missing for Killers as well. But
there you go.
We move on.
We move on. We move with the times.
No, I know. I can only speak from a Bees B's perspective, but I know we're already looking at plans of how we're going to work postseason to really get the ball rolling into next year, and we've already kind of drafted plans and stuff like that.
Nice.
It's really exciting. I'm devastated because I'm currently, as I mentioned earlier on, I'm currently injured, and all I can do now is the admin work for next season, which is a part of the reason why we're kind of going ahead with it all. I can only speak, as I said, I can only speak from a B's thing that we're really pushing to try and break into that Meteor Spartans. We've always come really close in our matches against them. Our big bogey team this year has been Rangers, Meteors, and Spartans. And even then, like we came close against Rangers both of the times, if memory serves. We only lost by 2 sets this time, which is in a classic B's way. In the big matches, we go down early, and then second half we come out swinging and do really well. It's just about getting those early sets in, and if we do that, then we're battling for top 2. We've beaten Spartans at British Champs last year. We drew with Meteors last year, I believe.
Same though? Is it the same? It's the same. It's an open. Is it the same?
It was a 30-minute match.
Oh, it's a 30-minute match. Okay, never mind.
British Champs was full match.
Fair enough. Yeah, scrap that.
And it wasn't wall to wall. Well, it was similar. It's like a slightly smaller version of St. George's Park, where like the wall's a bit closer than it would be at SGP, but like it's fairly similar surroundings. So like there's a lot of potential there, and we'll be doing this like a lot of hard work over the summer to make sure that we're fighting ready going into next season. It'll be interesting to see how it pulls off. I genuinely think Derby could be jumping up that table as well. Like you're comparing them to Storm. I think there's a lot of potential in that Derby team. And the discipline and the decisiveness that they've got currently, if that can step up another gear by putting in the sort of hard work that they're putting in pre-season this year, they could definitely be crawling up that table. If they're able to give like the likes of Spartans and Meteors a tougher game and maybe sneak a point here and there, like you fly up that table pretty quick.
They already have, haven't they? Because they've beaten. They beat Spartans already this year?
I thought it was Storm that beat Spartans.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
I was talking about Derby there.
Derby,
I was talking about Derby.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry. Yeah, no, I agree. It'll be interesting to see how they go, and I also think like how Silverbacks will do next year as well will be really interesting, because they've done enough to cling on this year. Yeah. But I'd be really interested to see how they train and be like, all right, okay, we've had our experience. We didn't completely shit the bed, but staying up next year is going to be hell. So how is that going to go?
It's about consistency for them, because like we've seen their game against Meteors, like they were in that for a very long time. And if they can play at that level, like more consistently and for the entire 30 minutes, like they could take points off a lot of teams. Like they're quite a varied squad. It's just about getting the most out of them. Is the interesting bit. So you never know. It could be interesting. They have to work seriously hard over pre-season and really nailing down their identity in terms of style of play.
Yeah.
Because I think it kind of varies too much and it's quite individual player based. If one of their players is having a really good day, then it shows. But they're not really that great at bigging each other up as a squad, compared to the likes of your. Because I think that's where every team above them excels in, is that if one individual is having a bad day, they're able to kind of pick it up through everybody else.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't really see anybody in Coventry kind of doing that. So yeah, it would be interesting to see how they do next season for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. And Wessex, I look forward to playing next year.
Savage, true though.
Look, like for audio listeners, they've got 1 point. To get out of relegation, they need to get 7, So they need to win all their matches and still have a better points difference than Silverbacks. It ain't happening.
Nick is also extremely excited for the fact that Storm 2 aren't going to be in the league next year. And you're begging
right
Spartan
now.
to bottle it.
Yeah, oh, really, I am. Like, Alex, like, no offense, my friend. Elliot, no offense. Please stay in League One for the good of dodgeball, for the integrity of the league
The good of
system.
dodgeball. The good of dodgeball.
Yeah, no, it's yeah. I mean, Storm 2 are on 2 points, so they'd also have to have a miracle to come back.
It's not happening. It's not happening.
Ain't happening today. Shit. Right. Men's Super League.
You know what? Storm 2 are playing Spartans. That's an easy win there, right?
Yeah, man. They can climb out of relegation. Easy peasy.
And then Rangers then afterwards, like easy 2 wins. Easy 2 wins.
Yeah.
No, in all seriousness, there actually is a few good games going on.
Few. Some solid ones. Yeah.
I think Rangers Storm could be very interesting, especially if Storm play as well as a unit as they did against Meteors. And I don't know if Scotty's going to be back or not for Rangers. So if he's still out injured, that definitely could be a very interesting game.
Yeah. And I think one thing that sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna let you finish your point.
Oh yeah, I was going to go on to another game, which is I'm going to mention it because it's not our match to catch, but is a big game nonetheless. Is Derby versus Bees, because if Bees get 2 wins this league meet, it pretty much guarantees 3rd place for them.
Yes.
If I'm correct on that, so that is their toughest game in the last 4, I think.
Well, the big thing is that in the last meet is Meteors and Spartans.
Right, okay, yeah. So they need to get 2 wins now to solidify themselves there, so Storm don't come back to catch up with them. So yeah, it's 2 winnable games for Bees. They've won them both in the past, but this Derby game.
Well, the game against Derby last time was extremely close. I think it went down to pretty much the final set, maybe the second last set, for the win. With some moments that appeared on Dodgeball highlights. If you want to go check that out. It's a really interesting game. I feel like Derby are that kind of team that Bees kind of struggle to dominate the way we like to. So it'll definitely be a game worth watching if you're around SGP, or hopefully it'll be on the stream. I don't actually know which court is going to be on the stream. Court 2, I imagine.
Well, I mean, we say court 2, but for those who didn't know, British Dodgeball decided, screw it, we're going to mix up matches on courts. And so what was my prediction, or what was originally written down, and what I've done in the graphics may not be correct. So please, if you're following our graphics, check on the day which court you're on, because it could be different. It's got nothing to do with me. I'm just working on the information I've got to hand. But yeah, always check with the referees which court you're meant to be on.
So I'll give him grief if he gets it wrong. Love you, buddy.
Anyway. But yeah, court 2 is kind of where it's all happening. Because
yeah,
the other games are
Derby Storm as well will be a very good game.
Yeah. And even Spartan Sheriffs will be probably close, and Silverback Sheriffs will probably be close games.
Oh yeah, I didn't even say Silverback Sheriffs. Yeah, I think Sheriffs of that squad this season that are difficult to beat, but most people tend to edge them out of it.
Yeah.
But it could be a good game to watch though.
Yeah, go watch Court 2. No offense, Court 1. But yeah, let's see. Which ones are match to catch this time?
Is that right?
I think so. That's what I've got. Have I done it wrong? Are Rangers playing Storm? They're not playing Storm, are they? They are. Storm.
They are? Yeah. Is that the right one?
Yeah, that is the right one. That's the one we discussed. They are definitely. They
Yeah,
are
yeah,
definitely
yeah,
playing
yeah, yeah,
tomorrow.
yeah, yeah. It is. Okay, thank
I
God.
can't remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. You're right. I want to make sure. I wanted to make sure.
For those that don't know,
I think it'd be
amazed
more
if
fun.
anyone knows, but Colin and I came up with a match to catch today, and we managed to get a couple of them. We read the fixtures wrong, and we did our predictions for the last league meet. So yeah, double thumbs up. We did a really good job there.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to confirm that one.
Yeah. Oh, you've really got me checking now. Anyway, it is what
No,
it
no,
is.
you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. I
Cool,
checked.
cool,
I
cool,
checked.
cool. Right. You know what? So our match to catch is Rangers v Storm. I'm gonna go with Storm.
Oh, go on. What's Bever saying? I'm curious to see what the
Oh, using
statistics are
Bevers to
saying.
get your prediction in. It's a fairly close one.
You've used him for so many weeks. I'm hearing none of it.
No. Well, I mean, it shows how shit I am because he's been less than 50%, hasn't he? So you know. Uh, he has predicted Storm as well. He's got
Oh, so you want
a
Storm?
41.8 win percentage, which I think is like the closest it can be
Pretty much because
without being a draw.
the draw percentage is like really minuscule, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah,
Oh, oh,
I'm surprised he's
oh.
got Storm.
I was expecting Rangers, and that actually would
Yeah.
have pushed me to go Storm. I'm gonna go Storm as well.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I think this would be a really good match personally.
It is. It's gonna be solid.
I really want like a fired up, battering Storm to turn up. I want Dan Gittins to go, you know what? I'm angry about what Tim did to me. Let's go batter Rangers in response.
That would be brilliant. That would be absolutely
I hope he
fantastic.
does a leap of faith and recognition, you know. I'll send him a DM and see what he says.
But only when the set's finished. Can't be before.
Whenever one of the Rangers lot eventually cries to the referee, that's the perfect time to do it.
Making friends here, aren't we?
Plenty of footage to back me up here. Though, like let's not beat around the bush.
Yeah. Anyway. Let's talk about our favourite league.
Baby.
Our truly favourite league. Men's League One.
I don't like this league. Let's skip it.
Yeah, actually, that does me. Let's go on.
Yeah.
Well, great draw for Sheriffs against Rangers. Sheriffs 2 against Rangers 2. Really big result, that one.
Sheriffs 2 against Leeds, I think, is the really good result here.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Sorry, you've got plenty of digs at me here. But...
to be honest, I think we need to give full credit to Sheriffs 2 here. And I think and I don't know what your perspective on this on Sheriffs 2 is, but my God, as the season's gone on, they have got progressively, like week on week, there is a visible difference to how they're playing in how much they've improved, and it speaks volumes to where they are now, drawing to Rangers 2, beating us, to losing to Virtue at the beginning of the season. Like, that's the sort of journey that they've been on in terms of getting better, and I think they are. If they'd played like this at the beginning of the season, then I think it would have been even more of a mixed fest.
I think it's very fair to say that the big difference was whenever Ben Paddock joined.
Yeah,
I'd
say that's fair.
And the reason why as a squad they've improved is because, well, from what I've seen, like obviously I've not been there recently, but whenever we played Sheriffs 2, Ben very much spearheaded that side. And I think they've kind of like learned how to play alongside him and back up that like kind of play a bit more and played a bit more as a team rather than like trying to play as individuals in a second team. And that is I can only I haven't watched these matches, so I can't say for sure. I'm only going by off of what I've seen beforehand. But I can imagine he's passing on his knowledge that he's got previously onto everybody else in the team, and I can imagine that that is really starting to show.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I don't really know the Sheriff's 2 team person to person that well, but I have a feeling that they, like outside of Ben, have had a few people changes as well in the team, like a few new people join,
Yeah.
and they feel like a real like they've got players with like really good catching ability, really good counter ability. They've all got solid throws, which I think is a little different to the Sheriffs that started at the beginning of the season. I don't know if that's true or not. This is just my perception. But they are looking really good now, and yeah, full credit to them. Really, really, really well done. Really well done to them. I'd also say because this was the league there with 3 draws in, because you got Sheriffs drawing to Rangers, you got Virtue drawing to Bees, which is a massive shock. And then Spartans drawing to Nighthawks. We'll talk about Spartans and Nighthawks last because I know you've got a lot to say about that one. But I was really surprised about the Virtue Bees one. Didn't know what was going on because I was too busy in our game to really see what happened on that one. I will say, just for those that don't know what happened in the Leeds Nighthawks game, it was like, from a Leeds perspective, it was really frustrating because we were 6-4 down at half time. Final score was 15-5. We didn't win a single set in the second half.
Oh, that's rough. To be fair, you only won 2 sets in the entire game, so it's not that surprising. But
yeah, but to be 1 set down at half time, and that last, it was 4-4, and then we lost like the short set, which gave them the 1 set victory in half time. I remember our team talk at half time made it very much felt like we were losing bad, which is stupid because we weren't. If we'd looked at the score, it felt like we were losing sets.
Well, the lost you had a similar situation against Beagles, didn't you? Where you're like, oh, we're out of this game, not really much to fight for, and you're actually finished level with them at the end of the game. And you're like, oh, that was a close loss. And you're just like, you realize you drew, right? And then you're like, what?
Yeah, but I think there was a bit more going into it. We felt like we could do better against Nighthawks, and we wanted to show it. And the other thing as well, we went in a game plan and we just didn't play the game plan. Just don't know why. And at half time it felt like we were really far down, but we were only down by 1 set. Don't know what the hell was going on. Nighthawks played pretty solidly. They did a really good job in the second half, and I don't know. We did have a timeout when we were 10-4 down, and I think our team, it really annoyed me, and the team knows that I've mentioned it to them as well. Like we seem to only be able to take one message away from a group chat, and for some reason the message that they took away was, we need to take a few more risks if we're going to claw this back. That was not that was not the real message that should have been taken away at a timeout at 10-4 down. With 3 sets down, it's very much still a winnable game. We just got to play and win the sets. And there are a few throws that you can look at and go, why are you taking that risk? It wasn't needed. It's because that was what I think people got in their heads is, if there's something on, even if it's risky, we've got to start taking them, otherwise we're not going to bring it back. And Nighthawks are a solid team. They'll catch those. That that risk is a major error with Nighthawks, because it's not just you've wasted a ball, you don't have ball possession. It's, you just got caught, you're out, and the person you just spent a lot of time trying to get out is back in. Good job. So that summarises that score for you. But yeah, Spartans being MK and Spartans Nighthawks.
That's actually the match I watched. I haven't watched.
Okay, go on then. Let's talk about Spartans MK then.
MK, if you would, absolutely bottled it. I think they were 11-3 up, and then proceeded to lose every single set going forward, and managed to lose 3 sets in about 4 minutes, I think it was.
Wow.
Yeah, all they had to do was play out the time in the last set to get a draw. They went too aggressive. Spartans bid them off, and then Spartans won the minute set with James Brown going for, I think, a very silly. He went to try and take out Tetley, to go 4 players up to 3. He was up high up court. Tetley completely ducks underneath it and regains himself to take out James Brown. And just watching it, I'm just like, James, what the hell are you doing? You've got no backup. There's nobody. If you miss this, you are fucked. And he missed it. He was fucked. Spartans took it. I was just watching like this because I knew the result while I was watching it because I watched it off like yesterday basically. I was just watching it knowing the result, going like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, one thing I always thought MK were really good at is that whenever they were like high up on sets, was seeing out the time. Like, they know how to fucking throw a safety ball all day long, back themselves up, regroup, but they just kept getting drawn into this like back and forth match. I think they got a bit too, I don't want to say big headed, but too like, into the game, too hyped up, went for trades that just weren't really there, and Spartans were binning them off like really, really well. Like, Spartans played the game they had to after they went 11-3 down. I think having Diggins and Tetley in that side massively helped in terms of leaders who can keep them on the right mentality of, we are still in this game. Because I think that's something that probably Spartans to have lacked previously, is just that voice on court to really keep them like in the game. I don't think either Tetley or Diggins had particularly exceptional games, but I just think in terms of having that like leadership, that experience on court of high level plays, I think it massively helped. I think having Alex in the coaching box as a level headed kind of person to have around really shone through.
A
Whereas
level-headed person on 2 hours sleep.
I don't think MK have anybody who kind of can keep the heads level as they really needed to. Like, they done so well to get ahead. They played really, really well those early sets, but they just lost all composure, and Spartans just knew how to turn it in their favor and really start bidding them off the right opportunities. They just learned to survive better to be able to get those chances. And yeah, it's a really good game to watch. Highly recommend watching it.
I'll have to go back and watch that then. It's interesting because Spartans 2 are just such a weird team in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, when you play, like, they have all the ability, but like, I think you're dead right. Like, it's like they need the keystone in their like in their players. They've got all the ability to do it, but like, they just need one person, even if it's not like, an outstanding player or whatever, just someone that can like keep the ship stable.
Yeah.
Rather than loads of loose cannonballs. And that's not to say that the players that are already on there don't have that ability, but they just weren't doing it.
Yeah.
100%. And Tetley and Lewis, from my experience, they're not the loudest players on court, not by a long shot, but they sure know how to say the right things and keep the right energy on team, and also to get the Spartans team to respect and react to that energy. Like, sometimes it's really hard on a team, like when something's going bad and you're a player that you're expected to be that level-headed player. If you get drawn into that bad situation, you just can't. And those two are players that are generally pretty good at like keeping their level head, and also, keeping everyone else in line with them. And Spartans know that. It's like Dan Newton for Bees, right? Like, he's just one of those guys that is, he doesn't get really wound up by anything.
No,
like
you can't. You can't
wind him up. It is funny. I was talking to someone else about this, but it's just like, you can't wind Dan up because there's literally nothing going on behind those eyes.
No.
Like, when he's playing, he is literally in this happy place throwing dodgeballs on the dodgeball court.
Yeah, literally.
Like, there's nothing going on. Love you, Dan. You are the best. But like, it's players like that really make a difference to teams. And I mean, that's why dodgeball's a great sport, because there's so many ways that you put a team together and how to have a winning team. There is not one winning formula. but there are many ways to get it working. It all depends on who's on your squad. But I think that Spartans 2 Nighthawks game, a draw, is not really surprising looking at the Nighthawks team. They were missing Skinner, and they were missing another player as well that they usually have around. So they were playing with 7 people, and I think Spartans have the ability to really push Nighthawks. So this doesn't surprise me that they drew. But yeah, other than that, I don't think there's anything else. I think it feels really rough to see Bedford beating Bees by that much, knowing that Bees drew or lost by 1 set to them last time.
Yeah, what 1 set? Yeah, I think we were talking about kind of mentality previously, and from what the kind of feedback I got was like not to big myself up here, but I would tend to be like a big influence in terms of mentality on the squad. Like the meet before, was it the meet before this? Was the one before the big break?
Yep.
Like my head was gone for reasons, and the team suffered for it. And I think this time around they're kind of missing that glue, that person to kind of big them up, which we've been kind of working on in training because I haven't been around training because of my injury. But one thing I've been passing on to Wrench and Matt Key is that this kind of like individual mentality kind of needs to disappear. One thing I always had to work on was reiterating to a lot of the lads was this is a squad. We need to be picking each other up. We need to be backing each other up and playing as a unit. And whenever we do that, we can beat anybody in this league. Like there was a reason why at the halfway stage, people were, going into Christmas, people were putting us in contention for not just promotion, but for the top. And whenever that kind of mentality disappeared, teams have punished us for it. So one thing that we really have to kind of reiterate to the lads is this is a squad game. This isn't a game of individual play. This isn't about making the big catches and trying to go into hero mode. This is about protecting your squad and binning off the opposition when the opportunities arise. And we just haven't done that. I think probably Arnie returning probably shook the confidence of a few people because I think some of them weren't expecting to come up against them. And probably got caught up in that malarkey. It's nice to see Arnie back, by the way. After hearing about the injury he had, partly he had a really good game, really good week all around for himself, which is good to see him back hitting form straight away. But I back my boys to come back. Like I said, we're already kind of preparing for what we need to be working on towards the end of the season and going into next, and we'll definitely be up there fighting for the top spot next season. I can assure you of that.
Yeah, no, fair enough. It's a brutal league. This, as your fortunes diminish, MK's fortunes have gone up. It's nuts.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's probably a part of it is that the loss we took in the meet before this kind of diminished the confidence of like we were previously thought we were fighting for top 2, and now we're sitting 5th place. It was a kick in the teeth. Having one bad meet just absolutely wipe us away from contention. So yeah, I think you're just kind of probably too many heads kind of looking towards next season rather than finishing off this season, but which happens, and that's where experience has to come in. The boys will learn from it. Not a lot of them haven't actually been in scenarios like this before, and we'll live, we'll learn, we'll push forward as a squad as we always do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but yeah, like my point about it being a brutal league is that next year when 7 through till 10 get demoted, and this is why we like League One, because it is a different class to Super League, because Super League is, it has those teams that are just a cut above the rest, and even the mid table is a cut above, like a massive cut above League One. But League One is so well balanced in terms of anyone on their day could probably beat anyone.
That's all
It's
going to be lost through the new
because yeah,
system.
that's my worry. Like, obviously the idea is that
100%.
it balances out, but yeah, it's gonna be flipping brutal,
This,
flipping brutal.
this right here kind of shows where my frustration with the whole proposal comes from, to be honest, is that there's a real possibility that let's say a Bedford Rangers 2, Leeds Isles, Sheriffs 2 next season all end up on the same amount of points, and 2 of them are going to get relegated through set difference.
Mm-hmm.
For 3 teams ending up on the same points and aren't even bottom 2. Like that's going to be a reality, and I'd be very interested to see how the leagues pan out in terms of North and South, etc. As to how if there's going to be a big gap difference between who goes down and who goes up in terms of ability and squad depth, etc. and stuff like that. It'll also be interesting to see how many of them will be made up of like second teams of the likes of Leeds Isles. I know you've got a second team. I don't know if Sheriffs have a third team, etc. Like it's going to be interesting to see how like all the leagues line out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how. Like, there's no point writing it off before it's even.
Oh,
Like,
no. But it
theoretically.
is interesting.
Well,
Like, because like at the
I'm just
moment,
very. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say at the moment we're in the relegation point for next year, right? Like if this was
It's crazy.
next season,
You've got 5 wins.
yeah, we got 5 wins, but like our 4 matches remaining, right, are Bedford Mighty's Eagles which we drew to last time, Spartans 2 which we drew to last time, Rangers 2 that are only just above us, and Virtue Empire I'm pretty sure is our last match as well. So like on paper, based on results so far, all 4 are potentially winnable. All 4 of them are also losable. Like the absolute swing of being in 7th right now is nuts, like absolutely
Yeah,
crazy.
absolutely.
Sheriffs have clawed themselves out of relegation at the moment based off of what happened with Rangers 2 last time with the whole ineligibility stuff. But even like 4th and 5th, like I mean, look, the top 3 are I think on their own now. I think they're pretty settled. I don't see Eagles catching Spartans 2 with 4 games left.
Very, very unlikely.
That for our audio listeners, Spartans 2 are 3 points ahead of Mighty Eagles, but Cyclones and Spartans 2 are drawn on 20 points, and Nighthawks are on 24. And that gives you an idea of how close this league is, right? Like what max amount of points is 36, and there's 4 games left, so there's like 8 points left. So there's only top place could only get 32 points. I say only, that's still pretty good, but the others are like it's a very competitive league. Everyone's been taking points off of them, but that mid-table of 12 points in 7th, 14th in 6th, 14 points in 6th, 16 in 5th, and then 17th in 4th. Like any one of those could finish anywhere in that pack really, and even Sheriffs too if they finish strong and we sort of shit the bed as well. Like really could be interesting.
Yeah.
On to the features.
The fixtures.
Why can't I find it? There it is.
Because you silly.
I suck. Oh, the nice morning session on a Sunday.
Glad I'm not going.
I didn't realise this, but I've signed up to referee the midday session as well, so I could be there all day, to be honest.
Lol.
Things you do for the sport you love, eh? Yeah, games. Bees Rangers, the 2. That could be a big game.
There's a lot of big games this meet.
I mean, based on what we were saying in terms of the league, it doesn't surprise us, but yeah, there are a lot of big games.
I'm very interested to see how you do against Beagles.
I am too. I am really hyped for this weekend. It's going to be like the men's have some like really big matches. They could go either way. To be perfectly honest, we could turn out play really well and have a really fighting chance against Beagles and Rangers. We could also turn up like we did last time,
Shit the bed.
and be terrible. And then our women's have got big games as well. So like I'm very very excited for the weekend. But
I'm also very curious to see how Sheriffs 2 do against Beagles as well. I think they'll beat Thunder Dodge fairly comfortably.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I'm quite interested to see how they do against a Beagle side, because if they play a smart game, they could give a tough game for Beagles.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Whether they get too into it or not. If they get too hyped into it, they just end up getting binned off by Arnie. But if they're really smart about it, which I think they can be,
yeah,
could be a good game.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good game. I don't see them winning it.
No, but I think they can.
But I think they can close. Like in the same way that I don't necessarily see us beating Eagles, but then I know based on the past, there's evidence that they could. And I think if Sheriffs played how they played against us, they definitely could beat Eagles as well. Yeah, could be a really good game. I would say worker bees against MK could also be a really interesting one, but it really depends on what workers beat team shows up and how they play. Well, I know you're not there, so. But yeah, it could be a really interesting game.
Yeah, they definitely will be. It'll be interesting. I'm very interested to see how workers do at the meet, because it is, what I will say is that it's a bit of a makeshift squad.
Okay.
In a good way.
Okay. Right. Well, on to our match to catch,
which I think will be could potentially be match of the season.
You think?
Could be.
Could be. It definitely could be. So for our audio listeners, our match to catch is Nighthawks versus MK, which I think last time ended in a draw.
It did. Now, I genuinely have been really impressed with how MK have played this season, because I feel like they've been the squad that have been very disruptive to everybody they've played. I don't think they necessarily have like a derby approach in that it's really well disciplined. I just think that they really know how to back each other up whenever they're doing their big moments. Like, I think James Brown, other than the second half of that game against Spartans, is usually really smart whenever he's being quite aggressive, and usually is quite well covered on it. If they could eradicate all the dumb shit they did after they were 11-3 up against Spartans, like, super solid squad that could easily take on Norwich, and I could see them walking away with at least a draw. But if they slip into this, like, I'm gonna go up and do whatever the hell I want with no protection, nobody communicating with them, like how everything's panning out, then they're gonna get absolutely shot on by Norwich. Yeah, I can guarantee you that. Like, Norwich, no matter what squad they turn up with, always play the exact same. You know exactly where you're coming up against, and it has worked really well for them this season. Right? Like, is that a fair comment to say, Nick?
Yeah, no, I'd agree.
Whereas MK, no fucking idea what's going to turn up week in, week out. It has been really strong for the majority of the season, but they, like, against worker bees, they had some really stinky sets where they were throwing absolute shitters. Dodging was piss poor. They felt the game was getting out of their hands, so they tried to force shit, and we just binned them off. Norwich will do the exact same if they try to do it. If they do this game where they just back up everybody for everything they do, similar to like how Spartans play, it works really, really well, and they can give any team a run for the money because it's really disruptive, and that's how you beat teams like Norwich, who play this really consistent game style that never really changes. So I'm really intrigued to see what kind of MK turns up, and I genuinely think it could be a really, really good game.
So who are you backing?
I have to go with Norwich based on what I've seen from MK the last time.
Yeah. It's a really interesting one. Because my perception of MK is they had so many people leave this season after
Great.
getting dropped from the Super League. They had to, as a club, refine themselves essentially, like
Yeah,
pick
100%.
themselves up. And I think one thing that gets completely looked over in all of this is there is a yes, what is happening on court, what are the teams that are playing, but how much effort are individuals putting in running the club? And sometimes you have to deprioritize what's running for the team to prioritize making sure that the club keeps growing or is sustainable going forward. Like making sure that you have a coach, like having a resource where you've got a coach just focused on a team versus a coach which is coach for the club. They're two very different roles and takes up a large amount of time, for a volunteer sport. And I think MK have done a really good job of balancing both of them. It seems like they've been growing. They've fielded an MK women's team this year, which is fantastic in an open. It's really great to see. So we've seen that they're growing as a club, which is really really nice. Their twos are becoming a bit more consistent, which is nice as well. And their ones, like they weren't bad at the beginning of the season, not by a long stretch, but compared to where they are now, they're so much better. They're so much more well drilled. They're so much more of a team. You can tell that they played together in the past. You can tell that they've come together and agreed on their play style. So, I think MK are just going from strength to strength. Yeah, they have some doozies. They really threw some sets to get away against us. Like, if you look at our score, like both our games against MK, and then you compare where we are in the leagues right now, we should not have lost by 3 sets. We should have lost by more. I think it was 3 or 4 sets we lost by both games. We should have lost by more. MK should have had their way with us, but they haven't. And that's the way it is. So, you know what? I'm gonna back MK. I'm gonna say that they do it this time. And my logic is just in terms of faith, in terms of trajectory as a team, I think they're on the rise. And yeah, they sort of shut the bed against Spartans. They did, but they had such a massive win against Thunder Dodge. Not many teams have put up I think it was a 29-1 win. You don't see that sort of a scoreline in League One that often. That is a huge win. So they definitely have the capability. Depends what Nighthawks team gets put out as well, I think, to an extent. Because, yes, they all have the same play style and they work well as a team, but I think Skinner does have a big impact on how the team plays and what the highest point of their ceiling is. And I'm kind of interested to see how MK push it. And, it was a draw last time, and I don't think MK were at their best last time when they played, so be interesting to see how that goes.
Agreed.
No real need to point the obvious out from a Bever's stats perspective that he's chosen Nighthawks.
Yes, that would be statistically that would be the obvious choice.
The bettingsman's choice, I guess, is the one to go for there. But yeah, it'll be interesting either way. I look forward to it. Man, there's some hella games in all the leagues this weekend. What are you doing on a Sunday if you're not coming to St George's Park and watching dodgeball?
Watching dodgeball from home. with my knee wrapped in ice, leg up, watching
2 ways to do things.
Watching dodgeball for hours on end.
Men's League 2, a league which will not exist next year, currently.
Does that mean whoever wins it is just going to keep the shield because it becomes redundant?
They'll get promoted, won't they? Oh yeah.
The shield's going to be redundant, right?
Oh, yeah, I imagine so. I don't know. I'd like to think BD hold on to it so that when BD's big enough to actually own a fucking building, they can put it in the trophy cabinet.
Hall of Fame.
Yeah, here's the Museum of Dodgeball kind of thing. If something can live in there, along with Tim Day's stupid throw.
Just have that on loop.
Just like
him doing the leap of faith with that.
random crazy shit that's happened in the past, like the final 1 second drama with Northern Ireland and England and the men's, or just like random shit like that. Just as you're walking down, like, man, that would be sick. Never gonna happen in our lifetime, but we can dream. That's why we're here chatting shit about dodgeball.
I love the faith. Yeah, we're the historic records of dodgeball now.
We are.
That's what we essentially are. Anyway, men's league 2.
Yeah. So, like, the only real takeaway I've got from this is it was a really big day and a big result for Wessex Wolves. To come away with a 12-all draw to Storm 3, who basically, because of how they played that day, are out of contention for promotion. To draw against Wessex from Storm's perspective is a terrible result for them, really. But shows what Wessex are capable of Wessex 2s when they get their act together and really play as a unit. And they were more confident in their victory over MK2s than they did last time. So, again, for my second team, which I am adopting for no other reason than apparently I have already adopted them, according to Colm and Zoe. Anyway. Really, really good results. Really good results.
I think the takeaway I had, big result for Carmarthen against Raptors, I thought. Considering how much I've said Carmarthen should be doing better this season. This week was a bit more of what I expected. Mustangs put up a really good set of results, beating Carmarthen and Storm 3 to really keep them in the promotion race.
Yeah, especially after Raptors beat Silverbacks as well.
Yes, absolutely. Which makes it a very spicy running. Ronda are all but guaranteed champs of the league now.
I think they are guaranteed, are they not?
Technically, if they lose all their matches and Silverbacks win all theirs, they can take over.
Would they have the points because they're not going to get it on set difference?
No, it's 6 points difference currently.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
So, yeah, Ronda will have the league tied up by the end of.
Ronda, here's a chance to get into the annals of dodgeball history. Lose all your games and finish second.
Technically, they could still lose out to Mustangs as well. That'd be funny.
That would
be a dream. No harm. I'd love to see that.
Just for the bands, do it.
Nothing personal, yeah. Just so we have shit to talk about in terms of top of that league. That'd be funny.
Absolutely tank it. See what happens. But because that'd be hilarious.
Send the youth team. Send the reserves in.
that would be hilarious because if you did absolutely tank it, like it would be funny because of the position they are. It's basically, can second place not cock it up to win?
That would be funny to watch.
Because if they did cock it up,
so interesting.
All they have to do is lose one game and that's it. They can't get first. Which I think second place is currently Silverbacks too. And they've just lost to Raptors, so I mean, even if Ron lost out right now, I think it would be absolutely hilarious just to see if anyone could hypothetically overtake them.
It would be cool.
It would be interesting.
I'd watch it. We'll get it on stream if that's the case.
It is fascinating, this league, because it was one earlier on in the season, at Christmas time. I was like, man, this one's all wrapped up. We know what's going to happen. The only thing that's interesting is Silverbacks and Storm 3. Let's see what happens. Who's going to get that second place? But Mustangs have really come into their own. Yeah, I thought they would as well. But Mustangs have really come into their own. Silverbacks have held that position pretty strong. And it's actually heated up a little bit. And that Carmarthen, Derby Phantoms 2 and Wessex sort of pack. And that is there's
good
dodgeball. There's good dodgeball there.
Yeah.
I hate that it's on the same time as us because it's It's a good league, and it's going to be sad to see it go because of how competitive it is. I do like this is one of the last remaining leagues. Like I mean, yeah, because you got League 3 and League 4, but that does have something to play for. But like if you're Wessex now, like you're in the South next year,
Yeah,
which is
absolutely.
just like
What's the point of turning up, kind of
yeah,
mentality?
I like it's one of those things where we knew this would have to happen, but it's annoying how it's happened in a way because like we've still got two league meets to go, and you'd
It
want
would have been
something to
interesting to
play
see how
for.
people, it would have been interesting to see how people would have responded if they'd been told how it was going to split off
Yeah,
before the season started.
yeah, it's. I think that's a problem that we've had as a in dodgeball as well. We tend to make changes a little too late or with a little too short notice.
It's reactive rather than proactive.
Yeah, I think
But I completely agree.
um, and like I give credit to British Dodgeball in a situation where they have emailed they did email the teams to say, or the clubs specifically to say this is the proposal and gave 2 weeks to give feedback. I hope clubs distributed it amongst their teams and teams have read it and given their thoughts and feedback because otherwise we're at the mercy of British Dodgeball and we know that the only way we're going to grow the sport is together as a community. So we need to make sure that we're all speaking about it. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. And if based on the feedback, if anything can be changed or if anything will change, because we know St George's Park availability is limited, and that's a big factor here. So, but we also knew that regionalisation was going to have to occur to allow the sport to grow.
Oh, 100%. Like it's like how it was going to come in was always going to happen at some
Yeah,
point.
yeah, definitely.
I thought they were going to go down the route of um just having smaller centralized areas, similar to how they're doing it now with League 4, but just with more leagues involved in that. But this was the other alternative.
Yeah,
Pros and cons to both of them. I'm not really like I'd have to do a lot of more research into it to kind of give a proper opinion around the whole thing. Um, like I mentioned earlier on, my only issue is like how like I think there should be a playoff. Other than that, I think it could be a correct way of doing the whole scenario.
yeah.
Uh,
I mean,
I'm,
sorry, go on.
I was gonna say I'd be interested to see how British dodgeball kind of lay out the full structure whenever
Mm,
it's released, and see how the mass public react to it all.
yeah, yeah. It's because yeah, I think the two big takeaways that we mentioned is the impact on men's League One in terms of how much is going to be turned over each time, and also the impact of having to play 3 matches in a league meet. Um,
I think most teams now would tend to take 8 in a squad, and I think
yeah,
because if you're going to be playing 3, you're more likely to have to take 9.
yeah, and I think
Uh,
that affects women's teams more, especially women's League One teams more
yeah,
because
I fully agree with that. I think a lot of clubs with thinner squads for their first and seconds, I do have the fear that it could cause a couple of second teams to have to fold.
yeah, or some of the third
Um,
teams that we've seen created.
thirds, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I fear that there's going to be a knock on effect
Yeah,
from it from clubs that don't really have the depth. Like bees are in a
hopefully it's
lucky
only short
position that
term.
we've been leaving like a couple of people behind of our squads for most league meets.
Hmm.
So like, we've got just about enough depth to add the additional players without anybody having to suffer from it.
Yeah,
Um, Whereas, not every club's gonna have that luxury. If they're gonna adapt to the 9 players, there's probably I could see like a Spartans or a Meteors just sticking to the players they've got. The top level fitness you're gonna have will still be there. Like look at international level, they have to play a ridiculous amount of dodgeball throughout an entire weekend.
yeah,
You have to be ready at certain levels to play a lot of dodgeball in one day. So it'd be interesting to see how people react to it and how they adapt.
yeah. Hopefully it doesn't impact women's league too much. and it's more of a short-term impact, and long-term it means that teams
Well, you're
can.
able to the positive of it is you're able to offer more dodgeball for your weekends, right? Which couldn't entice some
Yeah,
people who have been traveling a lot more.
that's true.
You're there is positives to there being more dodgeball in one day compared to the amount of traveling you're going to do. And hopefully, the one thing I'm hoping, I know this has been mentioned in the email, if memory serves, is that it could potentially lead to more opens. Because I'm a big fan of the open format. To be honest, I think it allows kind of teams to play people outside of their league that they wouldn't play as often and kind of compare. You know, you'd see League One teams match up with Super League teams and cause a lot more upsets because of the format and stuff like that. So it'd be interesting to see in the long run.
Yeah, I think
That was a massive detour, and I do
that was a
apologize.
massive yeah. I no, no, it's a fair one, and I think it's something. It's good that we cover it, and there's something else I want to touch on that at the end. I sort of mentioned it in our last podcast, but yeah, I'll bring it up at the end. But yeah, league table, due to Storm's showing, they are basically out of the running now for promotion. They are 4 points behind Coventry in second place, and there are 4 matches left, so eight points on the table. Um, you'd Coventry would really have to screw up to not hold that position now. Although Mustangs
Both of them
are very
really.
close. Yeah, yeah, because Mustangs are right on the tail of Silverbacks. Because Mustangs have 21, Silverbacks on 22. It's it's going to be an interesting running for both of them.
Yeah, definitely. And I think right now it's a really good opportunity for Raptors, Derby, Wizards, and Wolves to compare themselves to teams that will be in the leagues that they come up against next season. Really use this as a chance to set the bar for what you're going to be coming up against in this new format that's going to be coming in. Because how this all pans out is going to dramatically change. And if you're able to kind of build on confidence of finishing strong at the end of this season, it could be really beneficial whenever this all splits off.
Yeah, because like Derby and Carmarthen, I imagine Carmarthen's going to be put in the north.
I'd guess so.
Um, well, would they be in the south? I don't know. It depends where the south is. I think the south was put in
Well, the thing is
Berkshire,
that
is where it
it's
was
gonna
voted.
depend on how many teams enter. It's gonna depend on like
Location.
location. Yeah, whatever location it will be centrally. Like I
Yeah,
imagine there'll be a lot of logistics work that'll go into
yeah.
deciding how this
Either
all
way,
splits
Derby and
off.
Stafford will definitely be in the north, and Wessex and MK will definitely be in the south. We know that
Yeah,
almost certainly will happen. So it is going to be interesting to see how that sort of pans out. Storm will probably be in the south. Mustangs probably in the south. It depends where it ends up, right? Like
yeah,
it is going to be interesting to see how these leagues end up playing, because some, you know, outside of opens, this might be the last time these guys are playing each other for a long time.
true.
Um,
Right.
it may be the last time they do it in their career. Maybe, you never know.
That's a crazy thought.
Yeah,
Crazy
in a
thought.
30-minute format. But yeah, no, it's interestingly table in terms of that mid-table battle for our audio listeners. Raptors and Phantoms. Phantoms 2 are on 13 points at 5th and 6th. And then 7th and 8th on 11 points is Wizards and Wolves 2. So really close. And the set difference between those four teams as well is Raptors are on 6, Phantoms
Minuscule.
2 on 0, and Wizards and Wolves are on -6. Like, that set difference is so tight. Like, it is quite an interesting battle.
How
Um,
mad to have zero set difference at this late in the season as well.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's almost as mad as being fourth and -10 set difference in Women's League One for Hartlepool. Still have no idea how they've managed to do that. That is actually miracle work. Um, but let's go on to the fixtures for next week or this weekend. Big week for Ronda in terms of they're playing two teams in the top four. Not that I think they'll have a trouble with them, but
Nah, that's the beginning of the choke job.
Yeah. Can you? Oh man, imagine if they. I don't know who they've got in the final league meet, but you imagine if they've got a Storm, Mustangs, and Silverbacks in their last three of their four matches. Imagine if Ronda lose all of them, then it comes down to whether or not those three teams, how they play against each other and their other teams. Because what Storm are playing Carmarthen, okay, that's not really in the
Actually,
question.
their very last game is Coventry Silverbacks.
No way! Oh,
However,
Ronda, please. Sorry, I'll even say your name right. Ronda, please. Like,
however, they do have Wessex Wolves as their other game that day.
just do
It
a
would
bunch of
be
1v1s. Just do, like, all people line up. Just 1v1s. Go through the whole squad. Let's see how it goes. I don't know. It would be. Man, yeah, that would be hilarious if that happened.
I would love to see like the biggest upset in dodgeball history if Ronda bottled this in the last two league meets. That would be incredible.
Don't think it's gonna happen, but it will be incredible.
Hey, listen, if there's two teams that could throw this seed of doubt into it, would be Mustangs and Storm 3.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially if Storm can have a full squad available going into it. Like they're not an easy team to beat in that league for sure.
Yeah. Outside of that, the two games I've got my eye on are Wessex 2 against Phantoms 2. Again, there's only one win between them in the league table. Basically, no set difference between them. Very winnable for Wessex, very winnable for Derby. Will be a cracking game, I'm sure. And also Mustangs against Raptors. That'll be a big game as well.
I would agree.
And funnily enough, wouldn't you happen to know that I'm pretty sure
I let you pick this one because I couldn't be bothered looking up the table. I was lazy.
it's our match to catch is
match to catch, match to catch, match to catch, match to catch.
Oh yeah, we need someone to come up with a jingle for that. There must be so. Like, I know. So Blue, you've made us an amazing jingle that I need to update. I just haven't because
it's gonna be the season 2 intro.
Yeah, I do apologize, Blue. It's all on me.
We love it. We're officially making it the season 2. Refresh the live stream and stuff like that going into the next season.
We will be far more
Nick's forgotten about it, but me and Zoe haven't.
Wow.
So we the real ones.
If Blue's playing on Sunday, she's gonna turn a fucking lamp a ball in my face now because you've said that.
Can't wait. I'll ask her to film it for me.
Anyway.
I hope Zoe joins in too.
To the surprise of absolutely everyone, I'm going to choose Wessex in Wessex versus Derby.
Actually, oh shit! I'm gonna bring up this point. Didn't Dan Ryan come back playing for Derby?
Fuck, he did! Oh, I forgot about that.
I'm picking Derby.
That just clicked He did. Yeah, I forgot about that.
He's a fucking poster boy for Derby over the last league, mate. Every 2 minutes, he would around the time that he was playing, I was just getting bombarded with videos on Instagram of Dan Ryan making a catch and Dan Ryan throwing and Dan Ryan running up court. I was like, fucking hell. Jesus.
So, if you're listening to this podcast and you are in Europe or you're new to the dodgeball scene and you're like, what the hell is this? What's going on?
For the past 40 years, an old man.
there's an old man who in the previous form of dodgeball, the 3-ball game, was the first person to figure out how to break the game. By all accounts.
That's extremely fair.
Figured out how to single-handedly ruin the game, which I don't know the history. I didn't really play or watch at the time, but by all accounts of what's been reported to me, is it may be his responsibility that 5-ball exists.
No, but it was the reason why people were more excited about 5 ball coming in than
Sure.
they originally would have been.
Sure. So, you know, a great player. Used to play for Leicester. Leicester Minotaurs when they were a thing, and then Leicester Dodgeball Club when they were a thing last season.
Oh, yeah, he did actually, didn't he?
And then so he's now playing for Derby apparently in the second. So having a good time.
Former Scotland international as well.
Yeah, so pretty solid player. Probably solid enough to make a big difference in Wessex 2's versus Derby. Now I feel like an absolute fool.
I feel bad that clicked in after you said
Enjoy your free win. Enjoy your free win. I am not.
Who knows? He might not turn up. Like
he might not. You know,
like
what?
for all we know, like
may have been a guest appearance for one weekend.
Yeah, for all we know. To be fair, he could even take a run into the first team if he's been about long enough. Like I had no idea he was back training at all. So I've no clue. He might not even be back training. He might have just been, ring.
I'm surprised. Yeah, I'm surprised. Like Derby, like that.
But for how much he was on Derby's social
club?
media, I'll be shocked if it's a one-time appearance. Because I swear down, it must have been like 10 to 15 videos of Dan Ryan just being there, like doing so much. Things. Like just if that wasn't an attempt to big up his ego to get him to stay, I don't know what is.
Right, let's finish this off.
No offense to the Derby social media. I'm gunning for people today, aren't I? Jesus.
You are. You're on one. It's because you got no consequences to not turning up at the weekend.
By the time they see me, they'll forget.
Yeah, exactly. There'll be no problem about it. We're all good. Men's League 3 results. So after they've been on an even longer hiatus than everyone else, because I don't think they played at the league meet before the break, because they're only on their 5th league meet. They've only got 2 more before they're done as well.
Yes.
I mean, how do I express my disappointment? Like, match to catch was Bovines v Saints. 4-18 to Saints. I don't think anyone saw that coming.
I do believe it was a fairly makeshift squad now.
It was fairly, but my God, they still played shit. Like, I know some of those players, and they are better than the way that they played. They played like crap.
I have not. I'll hold my hands up. I have not seen any of this. I've heard. Everything I've heard has been on the grapevines.
So I was refereeing Court 3. I could only really view what was happening at half times and stuff like that. But the bits that I did see, like, were the dumbest shit ever. Like, being caught on dumb things, throwing stupid throws, not paying attention when retrieving a ball and getting hit. I think there was like line faults as well happening. Like, I mean, in a way, the most bovine of shit to happen happened. Like they went full bovines. Never go full bovines. Like, it was a mess.
to be fair to them, like this league doesn't like necessarily matter anymore. Let's be real.
No, but it matters to my ego that I predicted them to win and they didn't fucking pull through for me.
I think my ego's more hurt from the fact that the Bovines game we selected was not the one that was actually a good match to watch.
Yeah, the Bovines v Crocs. Yeah. Look, to be fair, I gave them fair warning about Maya before, right? It's not my fault they didn't listen.
They need to watch the podcast more often. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Sheffield. Sort it out.
Sort your shit out.
Yeah.
Hear me?
We're coming for you.
No, don't make me come and drink in Sheffield. Actually, do invite me along. Thanks. Cheers. Bye.
Delicious Open in July.
I will not be going, unfortunately. I have
Rude.
a wedding to attend.
Rude. It's not my wedding, so what are you doing?
It's our wedding.
Okay. I won't be able to go either. My bad. You know I want to get married on a dodgeball court anyway. Come on. Sorry, excuse
what a weird tangent.
Yeah. The one thing I do want to say is Nighthawks 2 are an interesting squad because they're another like their women's team. They're a team that I think could do better than they actually are performing. But they've just got some things to figure out. Um, Not much else to say other than that. And the other thing is I know Burton's results look hideous, but having refed them now this season, they are so much improved from last year. Like they actually play with tactics now. Like that sounds like a really dumb thing to say.
Call?
Yeah, they
They
call.
actually know who's meant to be throwing now.
Yeah, they know how to play things. They know some of the nuances of the rules as well, like of what happens. There was one incident in the Nighthawks game where there was like a weird, like deflected catch off a out player that didn't have their hands up and things like that happened, which we had to sort out. But it was, you know, they've become on leaps and bounds. And I agree with what Kath said on the Neutral Zone podcast in terms of they've done a real credit to themselves to come this far and you know how well they're playing. It's really good. Yeah, so just to give a shout out there.
They can add, you know, team dynamics into their game now.
Yeah.
Sure, because surely, right? Like they've been about enough that they should be able to watch higher level dodgeball and kind of pick up on different bits and pieces, right?
Yeah, probably if they wanted to and they stuck around. Yeah, I bet they probably could. But yeah, no, I don't know. But yeah, it was good to see. Anyway, yeah, I've got nothing else to say about those results. I think other than Crocs and Bovines being a draw, being a surprise to most people, the Hartlepool Mavericks Nighthawks game doesn't really surprise me because I know Nighthawks can do well, but like having played Nighthawks at regional league, I know how good they are, and they're really starting to show their class. And they're overlooked by many people. So, and yeah, solid results all around for most people. It was a good day for everyone, unless you were a bovine.
Unless you're a cow.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Moving down the table.
Yep. Moving down the table to second, because they are now behind Saints. Everyone else sort of staying the same. Again, league that doesn't really matter next year, because even if you get promoted, you're still going to be in your regional league. So don't really know what to say about the rest of it.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck. And I'm just going to go straight on to the fixtures because that's what's worth talking about, really.
Why not?
Anything interesting this week? I'd say the two Saints games are going to be good.
Probably. Yeah, they look interesting. I imagine Saints will probably come out victors, but I think it's another. As we're talking about the league split, it's another really good chance for teams like Norwich and Hartlepool to know the bar of where they're at compared to competitors in their league next season. Like I genuinely think it's worthwhile for teams to really go all out for these last couple of fixtures, even if you're in a mid-table battle, because anything that can give you an idea of where you're going to be placing next year gives you something to work for and gives you like that mental edge going into the next season if you come out of it doing well.
Yeah, 100% agree with it. Yeah, let's go on to our match to catch then.
Match to catch, match to catch, match to catch, match to catch. Please somebody do something better, because that's too like 90s sitcom-esque for my liking. I've fully taken it from like Bewitched / WandaVision, realistically. If you watch WandaVision, you'll know exactly which episode I'm talking about.
It's not the good one.
We will fight soon. Talk smack about WandaVision.
Anyway, our match to catch is Nighthawks 2 versus Saints. For our audio listeners, I think Saints have got this. They looked really strong when they were out last time. Nighthawks, while they're a good team, I don't think they have what it takes to take on Saints. To be honest, they look like Saints looked really, really good.
Let's say a little prayer for you. And
Well
Nick
above,
Saints as
well
well.
above a League 3 team. You're going Saints as well.
Yes. After singing my song. Forever and ever. They'll beat Nighthawks.
And as a surprise to probably no one again.
Pick bovines, bevers, pick bovines, bevers.
They're not even playing. Pick Saints. Yeah, that's that
It's
really.
a whitewash, which means guaranteed they'll fuck up our predictions.
Yeah, let's do it. Please, Nighthawks, show something interesting. It'd be cool. Right, that's it. That's the pod. Hope you've enjoyed. Sorry it went on for a long time. The only other thing I wanted to mention at the end, and is what I was saying before, it's sort of like building on your point about the league system, is hopefully that it creates more opens. With how things are going, with how you're seeing like things in Europe develop, I'm really hoping more and more clubs invest in hosting their own opens. So I think that'd be really good. Building those local networks, local communities, because with St George's Park going away and less people going to St George's Park, that community that we've got within the sport at the moment is going to dissipate massively with that. We knew it was going to happen at some point, but like there will be a lot of people that we no longer keep in contact with because of St George's Park. Like I'm unlikely to see people at Canterbury again from the Crocs team for a long time, unless I make the effort to go down and see them down south. So things like opens really give the opportunity for clubs to travel around the country and really go and see other people, keep that community going. Whether it's a local open and you sort of focus on, creating those local networks and teams and universities getting involved and so that everyone knows about each other, or it's a big open that's open to larger communities outside of the UK, in Europe, etc. Then I think that'd be a really good thing to see. I hope British Dodgeball still host opens, but I think it'd be really good to see clubs hosting them as well.
I also really hope that, this is my message to Wessex Wolves to send Nick a ball with your logo on it and a kit, because
there's a spot
he'll
right
really
there.
He'll really miss you like once you start leaving the leagues, and his little heart would break. Who's he going to support on the day? Nobody's going to know anymore.
Yeah. No.
But yeah, I do actually agree with everything you just said. I would I'm liking the whole people going abroad more for some opens, which would be really nice to see, and I hope that kind of continues. I know, I want to say it was Cam from London Storm that set up this new Astros club.
I think it was, yeah.
That were getting random people from across the UK to go play in different European opens and stuff like that. That'd be really cool to see take off.
A touring team.
Yeah, it'd be really cool. Also, and like you said, I'd love to see actual clubs organizing their own opens, kind of taking it outside of British Dodgeball's hands and making it like more friendly open environments where people can just take random squads and new people, old people, alumni, and make some really fun tournaments out of it.
Yeah.
It'd be really cool to see that community vibe across British Dodgeball. That's their over the recent years come together again for different style events outside of the official ones.
Yeah, no, definitely, because we know it's not a stupid thing to say that British Dodgeball can only take us so far in organising things. Dodgeball is our sport as players. We need to organise things and get off our back to do things as well. And British Dodgeball will provide things like teaching us how to referee, give us the opportunity to become referees, coaching opportunities. There's plenty of them going around if you search on British Dodgeball in the shop and stuff like that. So there's plenty of stuff out there. But yeah, let's hopefully next season will be a good one. See you at the weekend. See you at the weekend. Take care.